and this episode is our next episode focusing on our trip to Japan. Last time we had Kimono Joe on, who was a great guest, had some great stories, some great laughs, great advice. And we're going to continue this time with another guest, someone that I've been dying to have on the podcast for nearly over a year now. But, you know, due to time constraints and other reasons, I'm going to let our guest explain on his own. You know, it just hasn't happened. But you know what? Recently, he's been to Japan. So I wanted to get him on the mic to talk about his experiences with the anime motherland. And Habib, I'm glad to have you on, man.
Banzai! Banzai! I finally made it!
Yeah, and we're glad to have you, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It's just been so long. I did remember when we first spoke about trying to get me on it. Just the time that had just flown by, and I finally get on it. It's like it's been coming. I'm glad I finally got to do it now.
I'm actually surprised the podcast is still here.
I think you're underestimating it, dude. Your podcasts are actually really good.
Thanks for saying that, Habib. How nice.
That's all right, man.
But just a little background on Habib, man. I met you at the London Spill Party. Was it 2011?
Yeah, 2011 September. I remember it was a week after my birthday, and a friend of mine, I think you met him there, Ellis, who's also a member on Tyro. We both just went down for the Spill Party. I thought Corey's coming down, Nick's going down. Let's go down and meet some Spill members. And you know, we came down, not really sure what to expect. And out of nowhere, it went from being a Spill London party in Oxygen and Leicester Square to being the upper floor, just being a small anime convention between anime fans on Spill. And it was so hilarious that I met so many people so like-minded, and, you know, met you there, and it was just all just started rolling. Yeah,
we just sat on a table, I remember, and we was all talking anime. And I don't know if you remember, there was this part, Corey just walked up to us and was like, "Hey, what's going on here, guys?"
I remember.
And then we kind of ignored it.
Well, let's be fair. He had one giant beer in his hand, and he had a bottle of tequila in the other. And then, to be fair, him getting in that conversation might have been a little bit weird, but still, nonetheless, it was funny watching him as he got seriously drunk that night.
Oh, he got smashed. He got so smashed. I just remember he walked in, listened to us, 2 sentences. There's an anime. Then he just walked off.
Yeah.
And you, Corey, you. And you guys, you already heard about the conversation. Well, I know most of you guys already know about the whole story about me and the hard drive of Corey. So, oh God, twice. But anyway, Habib, man, ever since we had that conversation, I've been dying to get you on. But, you've been busy. I've been busy. Everyone's busy.
Oh, it's just things like, granted, like when we first met, I was trying to find the right time to say, like, Don, I'm ready, I can do it at this date. And then when that came down, I was like, crap, something else has happened. I've got to find another date, and we've got to try and arrange another time. And it just kind of like snowballed into something else. And it's like me then on went to another job, and then that other job then into something else. And then it's just, so time constraining.
It's that thing called life, Habib. It happens to all of us.
True. And life has caught up with me very quickly. That's the thing. It's like so many years have gone past, and I've just gone like, holy crap.
Well, you know what? Let's not focus on the past anyway. You're here now. I'm glad to have you. Yeah. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just get into this. Now, before we start and talk about your trip to Japan, I want the audience to get to know a little bit more about you. You're a Spillio. You're obviously a member of Planet Tyro on Spill.com. But, who are you? Who is Habib? What do you do? What are your interests? I asked Joe this if he considers himself an otaku, nerd otaku, whatever. He just said, labels don't mean shit today. And to be honest with you, labels don't mean anything. Almost everyone's a nerd. But, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your interests and whatnot.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I am down to the core a huge anime fan. If you want to label that as an otaku, then I am a specialist in that. I've been in love with anime for God knows how long. I think it was... How old was I when I first started watching anime? I might have been 11 when I first actually knew of it properly. But when you watch a series of an anime series, but you don't really quite understand what it is until later on someone kind of explains to you what you've watched. And you go, oh, that's really awesome. I think I was... How was I... When did Akira first hit the UK for the first time? I might have been about 12, 13 at the time when Akira debuted on BBC Two, God knows when, back in the UK. And I stayed up to watch it. I didn't have a clue what I was watching. I was just fascinated that cartoons could do that back then. And obviously, back then when I first watched it, I didn't have a clue it was called anime. I didn't even know that genre existed. But then it just spiraled out. So after watching Akira, I watched... then a friend of mine got me onto Dragon Ball. He just brought it in to college one day, and we just sat down to watch it. And for some reason, when I was in... like a couple of years prior to him showing me a Dragon Ball. Like it was a saga, few episodes from the Frieza saga. I was watching it in Germany at my aunt's place. Not had a clue what I was watching, but for some reason I kind of caught on, like watching it in German. I was like, okay, it's fine. This is really exciting. It brought me onto it. The next thing you know, I've gotten into Dragon Ball Z, Gaiva, Street Fighter, the manga movie. It just kind of set off from there. So I've been loving anime since. I mean, my favorite anime shows are mecha types. I love giant mecha.
Oh, are you a Gundam boy?
Yeah, my favorite. I'm a Gundam boy through and through. I love Gundam. I mean, if you saw my room a couple of years ago, you would have seen my room lit with Gundam figures. Now it's a bit more vast. I've got virtually everything under the sun that has mechas in it and everything else. But my favorite series of all time is Gundam Wing, because I remember when I was at college and that first aired in America, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, there's this new Gundam show!" And the very first episode, Hiro just like meets Relina, and at the end of the episode, she gives him a birthday invite to her party. And he just rips it in the face and just walks past her and goes, "I'll kill you." And it's just like, when's the end of the first episode?
I remember when I was in school and everyone was like, "What?
Yeah.
The hell could not believe it." Yeah. I'll never forget that myself, mate. Yeah.
And for me, that was a great anime. So as soon as I started watching Gundam, I just became fascinated with it, and I tried to find anything that was related to Gundam. I've watched nearly every Gundam series there is. I've owned probably about 2/3 of it. And then I just branched out into other stuff. I ended up finding like Martian Successor and Adesco, which it's a giant mecha show, but it's just more than a giant mecha show. It is a comedy, it's a sci-fi, it's a love romance. It is everything that you could.
I only watched that series last year, and I was just amazed. It's one of the best, if not the best, parody, semi-serious, self-aware mecha show ever.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, you know me from this. I'm not overly huge fans of dubbed anime, because 9 out of 10 times I watch dubbed anime and the voice acting just gets on my nerve, and I just have a compelling need to just rip out the DVD from my player and just dash it to the floor. So I love watching it in Japanese, but the thing is with Nadesco, when I watched it in English, it just worked so well in English. So you had Spike Spencer as the main character as Agito, and he just, like, Spike Spencer for me back in the early 90s, early 2000s, he was like the best voice actor you could get for a TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously more famously known for the role of doing Shinji Ikari from EVA. And that's another thing. Like, a lot of friends back then told me that Neon Genesis Evangelion was one of those shows you had to watch. So I sat down to watch it, and I couldn't figure out what made it so great. And that's a giant mecha show as well. But at the same time, I was going, it's okay. I can't understand the fascination with this. It's like after episode about 17, I think, in the series, it just goes tits up, and I just
everyone. It goes into that interpersonal, mental. Who am I? A whole fucking self-conscious thing.
And because I like to see things to completion, I even went out and bought the Death and Rebirth and the Death of Eva. Was it Death and Rebirth the End of Eva? Sorry, End of Eva. And even those made no sense. And I was just completely baffled, because at the time I was at university and they just released the Death and Rebirth DVD. And I was studying a topic, a genre called avant-garde, and that made no freaking sense to understand it. And when I looked at Eva, that little DVD movie they put out, it was in the same type of category. And I was just like, I don't understand this. And I'm a fairly intelligent man, but this is just completely just bizarre. And I even showed it to a couple of my housemates at the time who weren't overly into anime, but they knew of it. They sat there and watched and went, "What the fuck is this shit? This thing is just bizarrely crazy."
As I'm curious, and since we're on the topic of Eva, how do you feel about these remakes? Just have to ask.
Strange enough, I own the two latest movies on Blu-ray, and they are actually very, very good. Because obviously there's a cinema release where they call it Eva 1.0 and Eva 2.0, whatever title they've assigned to that said movie. But when you get the Blu-ray ones, they call it Eva 1.1, and then the second one's Eva 2.22, and it's about 15 minutes extra on the Blu-ray releases.
Thanks for clarifying that. I've always wondered 1.0 to 1.1. What the hell? Anyway, let's get to know more about you. Don't want you to go too much onto that now. But also, you've been working in retail as well, dealing with games, and you're a gamer as well.
Yeah, I'm a gamer. It's I think when did I first start gaming? I had the original NES when that came out, so you can imagine playing Duck Hunt and original Mario Brothers on that and everything, and Punch Out and stuff like that. So I mean, my gaming history or my gaming career, let's say, started then, and it's kind of like evolved slowly. But since having worked in retail the last few years, my gaming has gotten more regular, so there's more choices for me and everything.
just not to speak for you, but you actually worked in Blockbuster, which was like, the gaming, one of the biggest gaming retail chains until the birth of the internet properly blew up, and now it's on the downfall.
I mean, I worked in Blockbuster up until last year. When was it? May, and that was just shy of 7 years me working there. And to be fair, the place I worked at, the people I worked with were really good because we all knew our stuff, whether it be games or movies or whatever. And, I tried, even back then, in the store I worked, I tried to get a bit of anime going in the store, and it kind of built up a little bit. And obviously, with like games like Naruto Shippuden Generations being released on the Xbox and everything like that, people are now starting to get onto it. They're like, oh, look, this is a really cool fighting game. And it's based on an anime, and this is a really cool thing in Japan. And you're like, there we go, we're getting some steam finally.
Yeah. Well, Habib, I think the people got an idea of the kind of person you are. I knew from speaking to you, but now the people know. So now, without further ado, let's get into the meat of the podcast, your trip to Japan.
Yes, okay.
And what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. People, it's very similar to the previous podcast. And also, I'm going to give you a chance to just tell your story. And after you tell your story, I'll poke some more questions in. But basically, I'm going to squeeze you like a sponge to get every piece of Japanese out of you.
To be fair, dude, I'm a big sponge, so you better squeeze hard.
I'm going to squeeze real tight. I've got big, giant sausage fingers.
Okay, let's go.
Let's not do any more innuendo, though. But anyway. All right, man. So, your trip to Japan. On the previous podcast, we had Kimono Joe. His trip in Japan was 2009, and it was really good to get his insight into Japan in 2009. Now, first of all, your trip was just last year, 2012.
Yeah, literally the end of September. Last 2 weeks of September, yeah.
Yeah, just a couple months ago. And unlike Joe, in Joe's situation, he was kind of in a situation where he had to follow a tour group because it was part of a school project kind of thing where they had to hit certain places. But from what I understand of your trip, it was a personal thing off your own back. So you went on your own and you didn't have any restraint.
No.
Is that correct?
Well, when you say no restraint, obviously it's not like I was allowed to free roam all of Japan and end up coming back after 2 weeks. Now, obviously we had set times to meet and then come back and then do whatever afterwards. But in a sense, you were given free reign of what you were allowed to do in the said area that we were in.
All right, so let me ask you first question then. How did the trip actually come about? Was it something you planned as a holiday, or was it some kind of planned get together with friends or something?
I'd always wanted to go to Japan. I was like, I think it was the last few, maybe 3-4 years, I'd been wanting to go to Japan. As for when I was going to go, was another matter. I'd always said, like, my next holiday I was going to take would be to Japan, and I'd set that as my goal for the last few years. However, the only thing that stopped me from going at certain times was that money was always an issue for me. I could never get the right amount saved up to go. And then sort of like 2011, I came into a bit of money. And so I thought, okay, I've got it. I will book the holiday. And I thought it's convenient because last year I hit 30. So I thought, since I'm turning 30, I'll do a trip to Japan to celebrate my 30th as well.
Yeah.
So
sounds great.
So initially, my brother and I, who thought, because I said I want him to come with me, so I thought, okay, we both go. It'll be a trip for both of us to go to Japan, and he's wanted to go as well. We looked online, and I was looking at a couple of places that did really good deals, and I thought, right, what's a good place? What place would be a good time to go, or what would do a good package deal for me in September? And luckily enough, there was a company called Japan Journeys, which if you are looking, I suggest looking there. They were doing a package tour to Tokyo Game Show, and it was sort of like their first package tour for that. So I thought, I like games. Why not? I've always wanted to go to Tokyo Game Show. I'll book it through them. So I booked a 2-week plan with them, and paid up, and that was good. And that was pretty much me set and gone.
Was it just you and your brother, or was it you and a group of people?
Actually, initially it was me and my brother that signed up. So we did the full package. So there was an option they do where you can stay for the first week, and that's just pretty much all the Tokyo Game Show. And then there's a second week after, which is a little bit more laid back and relaxed, and you can do 2 weeks out of there. So we decided to do 2 weeks. So when the information pack came through, we thought it was just 4 of us going and all for 2 weeks. So we thought, okay, 4 people going, that's not too bad. When we actually got to the airport, however, it was another mad. We found out there was another about 16 people joining us for the tour. And then ended up, there was a group of 20 people that I went with, and like each and every one of these people who I met are the most like fantastic of people. You bond over a week like this. Like you spend nearly 12 hours a day hanging around each other, and there is not one thing you can find to argue about when you're with each other. That you're there in a place that you've always wanted to go. You're there with people who are like-minded, who love anime, who love games, and you just click with everything with everyone talking.
That's cool, man. So how was the flight? Joe's flight, I think he said it was 11 hours. I heard Japan's one of the longest flights you can take.
It is.
How was your flight?
It is. It's because the reason is that they don't do a direct flight. I don't know if it's the same with Joe when he did his, but initially when you do the flight from the UK, you do a stopover in Seoul, in South Korea, the capital, for maybe 1-2 hours before you do a connecting flight to Japan. So the first time going over there was like a 10-hour flight to get to Seoul. Stayed in Seoul and we waited for 4 hours before the flight connected, and in that time, we flew to Japan. But the funny thing is, though, we were slightly delayed because apparently there was a typhoon that was going from Japan to Seoul, so we flew over it, which was quite funny. So as we flew over it, I fell asleep midway through it. Because I was so tired, and the flight's probably no longer than an hour. But as we were there, I was like, right, okay, I can stay awake for an hour. Let me watch the Avengers on the flight. I passed out within 20 minutes of the film starting. Woke up about 10 minutes before we're about to land, and my brother, to be fair, he's not the greatest person when it comes to flying. He gets motion sickness like there's no tomorrow. So I was looking after him as well. But it was the thing. So once he got onto the ground, we were solid. We were happy as anything.
That's cool, man. Did you? You slept through the turbulence. That's crazy.
I just passed out. I was just like down, out for the count, and next thing you know, I'm like, hang on a second. I'm supposed to be in Japan now. I look up, and oh crap! 10 minutes before we land, there's like fill in the immigration forms quickly, and I was like, oh quick, do it. So. Nice.
Well, sounds like a cool flight. It sounds like the same amount of time between US and UK, which is weird. But you did stop for a couple of hours, so that does make sense.
Going there, it was strangely quicker, but when we came back, it was slightly longer, which I didn't understand how, but it was.
Okay, I'll ask you about that near the end. Right, so you land in Japan.
Yeah.
And before we started recording, you actually told me when you got there at night.
Yeah, that's the messed up thing. When you travel to Japan, you lose roughly about a day in travel time. So we left the UK at Sunday around about maybe 7 in the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening. We got to Japan about if not 11, 11:30, I think. We got to the hotel about 12:30.
Gee, yeah, you did lose a day. Yeah, you're right. Because Japanese are already ahead of us anyway.
Yeah, they're about 8 hours in front. So
yeah, so you lost a whole day. Damn, crazy. Yeah. All right, man. So you got there in the day, and so what? Was that just sleep? Since it was night, you just thought, okay, sleep, wake up in the morning, and bang.
Yeah, it was quite delicious. You got into the hotel room, and the one thing you don't realize when you get out to Japan is a lot of people you look on the weather and you try to figure out what's the type of weather, what do I need to bring with me when I get out to Japan. And I thought it's going to be about autumn weather. And like some people you look on the net until you actually meet someone who's gone out there, they're like, oh no, it's going to be, it's all autumn weather, you should be fine. You meet someone who's gone there, they're like, you're just going to wear shorts all day. And you look going, really? Shorts? Can't be that warm. It's September. And that's just a lie until you hit that country. It's like as soon as I got off the plane, you get hit with the humidity instantly. As soon as you get off the plane, you're just like, wow, the humid hits you. And it didn't help that I'm wearing like a black jacket, black combat, and a grey t-shirt. So I'm like, this doesn't help me in the slightest. I'm wearing every colour that attracts the sun, even at night.
Yeah.
As soon as we got into the hotel, aircon hit. We were all like ready, signed in. Like you can't sleep in Japan without having the aircon on. That's how hot it gets. The first week we were there, so I think it was hitting like 30 degrees out there every day. And the one day that it did rain, it was still 30, but it was just ridiculously like humid, and you were still like trying to peel clothes off you. But it made it worthwhile.
All right, cool. So it sounds like generally the weather was good for your entire journey.
Yeah,
the
weather was actually.
Hot.
There was nothing actually wrong with it. Even when it rained, I welcomed it. That's the thing.
Cool. All right, man. So as I said before, did you just decide to go to sleep and then wake up the next day and then start?
Yeah, pretty much everyone did that. We met the tour guide, a guy named Jake, and who was going to be our tour guide for the week initially there, and he was a very lovely man. He himself did what most of us have thought about doing, is you go to Japan to teach, and you try to find as many ways to stay there as you can. And he did it. He came from America. I forgot whereabouts he came from, but he went out there, did the exact same thing, taught English in school. Ended up staying there he's married now with a young daughter, and he's been there for about 6 years. While doing teaching English, he also does freelance works for a lot of game companies. So when they need their scripts translated into English, they send it off to him to proofread it, and he corrects any mistakes or anything that might sound better in English if they need to obviously market for like the Western side. And also, he's doing the tour guide thing for Japan Journeys. And he himself was absolutely really, really awesome to hang around with. So he literally stayed in the same hotel with us. I said, look, okay, it's going to be about 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. Like, meet me down here in the lobby. Breakfast will be served about 9:30. So if you want breakfast, come down and get it. And then afterwards, I'll go through what we're going to do for the day. And so everyone just went upstairs and slept. But the best thing was, though, in the lobby, you get the drink, like the vending machine for drinks in Japan, and that was just a godsend. Because you looked and you're just like, oh my god, I need a drink. How much is it? 100 yen. Slot the coin in.
Nice. All right, man. So now I'm going to kind of give you free rein to talk about your journey from day one, okay?
Yeah.
And as you talk about it, I might just, intervene and ask you some questions. But first of all right, day one, you're in. You got a fresh day, whether it's the AM, the morning. What was your game plan? And just tell me in general how your trip went, man. What did you do? What was your game plan? And, what happened to you in Japan?
Okay, day one, you get up, you go down, you have your shower, you go down, you have breakfast. And to be fair, when you have breakfast in Japan, it is probably one of the most healthiest things you could ever have in the world. I mean, you get people having scrambled eggs or oatmeal and stuff like that. You go to Japan, they'll give you like rice balls for breakfast. You have some sort of like homemade potato salad, and you have the miso soup, and or you get some pastry or red bean bun or coffee. They've got a decent selection, and you can go out for a couple of rounds if you need to. But after the first one, you're pretty much good until you feel the need to have lunch. So initially, we all got down there to the lobby. We introduced ourselves properly, got to know everyone a bit better. And the first day was we were going to go to the Tokyo government building. So I don't know if anybody knows what the government building is, but if you've seen animes like X or G Gundam, the Tokyo government buildings is like profoundly used in that, and they always tend to be the epicenter of some form of mystical point.
Is it got anything to do with the government, or is that just a name?
It does, but the thing is, though, they actually have a floor where where visitors are allowed to go to a set floor and actually explore that floor of the building. So you get actually a really decent view of Tokyo. And I should clarify, when I was actually in Japan, I stayed in Shinjuku, so it's just a little bit outside of Tokyo.
Right.
So anybody who remembers Code Geass as one of the places, that's where I stayed.
Nice. See how he can reference the anime. That's why I like you, how you can just reference the titles and tie it in for us.
I didn't go around calling anyone 11s just because that would just be downright rude. I don't think they would actually get it if I said it. So, but that's the thing. Like the first day we were there, we went to the Tokyo government building, which actually was kind of like around the corner from where we stayed. So it was just a short walk from the hotel. We went to a small store on the way there just to check out a game floor, and there was some amazing like game consoles and some old school games, and there's stuff that you wouldn't normally see in the UK or maybe in America. But if you like looked on eBay or any places that do overseas shipping of imported consoles or games, you'd find it. But when you see it in person, you're just astounded at how cool it looks. And I was just looking at it. There was one I saw when we were in there. There was a PlayStation 3 Final Fantasy 7 Cloud PlayStation 3. He had his lion emblem engraved on the PlayStation 3. And I was just in awe. And I thought to myself, right, I could just buy this right now.
They've been teasing at that shit for so many years. It's been really getting on my nerves, I have to mention Final Fantasy 7 PlayStation 3 edition. I know me and you once spoke about Crisis Core very briefly on the Sword Art Online review, but I don't know. I don't know why they played that snippet. I don't even know 4 years ago of what Final Fantasy 7 looked like on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah, I remember that.
And just seeing that, I was like, when is the fuck is this game gonna come out? And it never did.
Yeah, but what I saw was just the console, and even that alone made me just giddy with joy. And all I could think to myself was, I don't know, what would I have to get rid of? I don't need certain type of jeans. I don't need these many t-shirts. I could fit that into my case. I don't need clothes for the next 2 weeks, But I'll point that out later. On certain things regarding Japan about how you need to survive in it, but just seeing that console, it was so amazing looking at it. And the thing is though, when you look at the price, it was like, how much was it again? 24,500 yen, and equivalent to pounds, that's about 240 pounds.
If you bought that and sold it, you would make a killing over here, wouldn't you, on eBay or something?
That's the thing. I was like, I could have easily took that home with me and sold it, but then I've only been in Japan 9 hours. I can't buy this already. But
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is like you walk around. I was walking around that's there was a small game part in a retail store. So imagine sort of like a shop like a John Lewis or a Macy's if America listeners are listening to this. It's like you've got a small section on a floor, and it's just dedicated to games, and you've got everything from PS2 up to the latest PS3, Xbox 360, and everything. You've still got PSP games, which are still really popular in Japan, even though the Vita's been out for a while. And look, there were some games where I looked and went, "Oh my god, that's fantastic!" I can't read a lick of Japanese, but I would so buy it just to have it. Like there was one called Tears to Tiara, and it was this named after the anime. Like it was based and coincide with the anime, and there was a special edition one that looked absolutely fantastic. And all I could think to myself was, I should buy this.
Was this a game center that you were at right now? Or was this still the government building?
No. This is me before I hit the government building. Sorry, I should have made that. We were on the way to a government building. We stopped off in sort of like a John Lewis, like slash Macy's, and then after we spent about half an hour in this place just looking around, and then afterwards we then made our way to the government building. So we initially were there, we took some photos of the place, and it was a truly magnificent building. It was a little bit astonishing to see this building as it is, and I've seen it many times in anime, but when you see it in real life, you're there going, holy crap, this is where the world ended in like Legend of the Overfiend.
Now you're talking.
See?
Even though it's hentai, now I remember that.
But still, okay. It's like, and also X, like slash 1999. It makes an appearance in that as well. And you're there going, well, this is where they destroyed the world, and I'm standing right here in front of it. So I wonder what would happen in the 2 weeks I'm here. Hopefully nothing, but yeah, we took some photos of the area, and then we were allowed to go into a sort of like a tour group that lets you go up to, I forgot what floor it is, but sort of like midway in the building, and you can get a really, really fantastic view of Tokyo. And like we got up there, and the funny thing was that I was expecting it to be like sort of like a very souvenirish place. Like you've got picture replica up statues of the government building or snow globes or something like that. I was so mistaken when I got off that elevator. Got off the elevator, walked out, and there's a sort of like a cafe to the right as soon as you walk out. But in front of me, what do I see? Tiger and Bunny One Piece anime stands on this floor. I almost cracked up laughing.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it, because one of the people I met out there who is an absolute joy to have met, but he seriously nearly made me bankrupt when we were there. Seriously nearly made me bankrupt. And I curse his name to this day, but at the same time I thank him. He showed me to some of the shops, which I'll talk about later. As we were walking around, he's a huge Tiger and Bunny fan along with his girlfriend, and we were just looking around. There was a Star Wars like few figurines there. You had like C-3PO and R2-D2, the Japanese models. So I took a picture of that. It was a friend of mine back home, but back here is a huge fan of Star Wars. I thought he would like the irony in this. Japanese ones. Took a photo. There was a Yu-Gi-Oh center there. One Piece is so big in Japan, you would not believe how big it is. I mean, it is freakishly huge out in Japan.
Yeah, it's just perplexing how it hasn't translated well overseas, and we can all blame 4Kids for that. But still,
definitely 4Kids are bane of One Piece's existence. But I think it's slowly making its way back. But the thing is, though, is like you've got so much anime around there that if you're not selling anime on your stand, there's something wrong with you. Like in Japan, if you're not selling something anime related anywhere, they seriously question your business tactic. Even if you're not selling like a figurine or keychain or small like Nendoroid toy, you could have like an anime character slapped on the side of your shop or whatever, and people still like, he's got Chopper there.
So are you saying that anime is just so immersed into the culture of Japan?
Yeah.
You need to represent it in whatever you do.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Like anyway, I even walked past a phone store, their version of Car Phone Warehouse. They've got like 2 networks out there. One's called SoftBank, which I think is their equivalent to like O2 or Vodafone, and there's another one which I can't remember what the name is. But they try to keep it as professional as they can do. But you walk in there, and there's still something anime related in there. You're just like, oh look, there's an anime phone case for an iPhone. Oh look, there's a picture of Chopper holding the S3. You just laugh at the amount of anime that makes its appearance in Japan.
The motherland. It is the motherland.
So after we did the government building, I think we went... Did we go to the Square Enix store? I think we might have gone to the Square one.
Damn, this is just day one, isn't it?
The thing is, I'm pretty sure there was a third day that we did something, but I can't remember what we did. But
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not going to keep you on for 6 hours while you go through every single day. Yeah. So, not to be an arsehole or anything. No. Try, give us a nice expedited version of all the best things you did in Japan.
Okay. Pretty much the first day ended with us going to Akihabara, which, if anybody knows, is sort of like the anime maid cafe, Otaku Game Central in Japan. Akihabara even has places where if you wanted to, you could build a PC from scratch. Quite literally, build your own motherboard, own components, everything.
I've always heard, as an IT guy, I've always heard of stuff like that. Like, tablets are really, really in now. And in Japan or in Asia in general, you can get them made for pennies. Your own brand of tablet computer now. They can make them from parts just like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find the shops, and you know what you're looking for, you can get it. But obviously, when we came to Akihabara Station, the first thing we saw was like the AKB48 cafe, the Gundam cafe, which I was just like, okay, that's what I'm going to before we leave.
Gundam Cafe. Yeah. Those two words. Is that an oxymoron? Gundam Cafe. What the hell was that?
Yeah, it was that was surreal walking in there. It was smaller. This was one of two that I knew of in Japan, and this was the smaller one.
Were girls dressed in mecha or something?
No. The girls were just, I think, in Gundam themed like t-shirts and everything, but no, none of them wearing like the mecha stuff. There's no like small like cockpit covering the essential areas or anything. But
funny, yeah.
No one's pulling out a beam saber to greet me or anything. But I was a little bit, oh come on, seriously, no wings on the back? Okay, fine, we'll leave that.
All right, you know what? Sorry to cut in here, but I have to ask for your experience at a maid cafe. What is that like? Because I think I'm very curious.
Oh, a maid cafe.
Yeah.
Damn, that was at the end of the first day as well. I think we topped it off. Right, I was with my brother and about 3 other people who we were there. So we thought, okay, let's go to a maid cafe. And we were just looking around. We didn't actually know where a good one was. And we ended up just finding one. So it depends on which one you go to. So my brother went to 2. He went to another one after this one that we went to. So we went in and you stand there. They ask you how many of you want to come in. You say like 6 of us. And I think you pay about 500 yen about 500 yen as an entrance fee. And then after that, whatever you pay inside is what you bought and everything. So we all sat down. They don't speak a lot of English, some of the maids, but some can speak enough. But it's not enough to have a conversation with you. So you'll sit down, you'll look through the menu, you'll get your own little maid come over, and she'll be the sweetest thing you'd ever seen. She'll be proper wearing the maid outfits. But obviously they say no flash photography in there.
Oh, okay.
It's to protect them. Obviously,
yeah,
and that's it.
What about non-flash photography?
That's the thing. You can't. They will know if you're taking cameras. But the thing is, though, they have photographers in the actual cafe
for you. Okay,
yeah, for you. So, so we sat down. We ordered like a couple of like desserts and drinks and everything. The couple of guys I was with decided to go for like a package thing. So they got like a dessert and a drink, and then they end up getting a photo with the maid. And it was just hilarious how that went. So you watch one of them go up, and they'll call your name up. And you go there and they'll ask you to strike a pose, so you do something like the Moe thing or the QQ thing and stuff like that.
Do they do any of those breakout songs? I know that's a bit ridiculous.
That depends on the day and I think in the time of day that you go to it. But I think when we were there, they either just finished one or they were going to start one an hour later, but we had to go elsewhere afterwards. Yeah. So we were there for about an hour just over. But you'd be surprised what type of people turn up in a maid cafe. You don't. It's not like the stereotype where people think, oh, it's the creepy old man with the glasses or the businessman who turns up. It's everyone. Everyone turns up to a maid cafe. You see some guy who's just done a 9 to 5 from work come down to a maid cafe. He's ordered himself like some strawberry parfait dessert. He starts chowing down on that, pulls out his work from the earlier today, and he starts finishing off his daily work and everything.
I have to ask you, Habib, in anime and in manga and everything, there's something where maid cafes are kind of sexualized, but I get a feeling in reality it's not really on that level, is it?
No, it's not. Then again, it might have just been the one I went to. The one my brother went to, what he told me was it was a maid cafe, the one that he went to, but at the same time it was sort of like maid cafe / pub.
Right.
So he was kind of like, okay, there's a maid cafe, there are maids here, it's okay. The one that I went to, there are maids, and they're all like lovely as hell. But the thing is, though, from what you perceive it to be an anime to actually seeing in real life, it's a complete contrast. You won't get that type of like what you see in anime.
Of course. Yeah, there's no smacking of asses or come and sit on my lap.
Definitely can't do that. You're so blatant like that to touch them.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Just have to break the reality of some people's dreams.
I mean, I walked in there thinking to myself, I'm going to get that thing from like Kaichino maid somewhere, and I was hoping that. I was like, no. Oh well, I went to a maid cafe. I've done that. That's one thing to tick off my bucket list.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but the first day was pretty much we spent in Akihabara. So we went initially. I think we were there for about 4 hours, and then Jake was like, "If you want to come back at set times, we're going to go out for dinner afterwards. We can do." And we were like, we'll stay for a little bit later. And I think we ended up getting back to the hotel about 8:30, 9 o'clock. But I have to point out, in Akihabara, there is this one shop which is the bane of all anime fans. If you love collecting, like buying figurines, like anime DVDs or Blu-rays, or even if you even like buying doujinshis and stuff like that, or anything, there is this one shop which is called Mandarake, and the guy who I met, his name's Steven, he told me about the shop, and when I went to the shop, I had no idea what to expect, and because I had never heard of it, I was like, okay, let me follow. It's like blind leading the blind a little bit. It's up to this building. It was 7 floors. It was 7 floors high. And I thought to myself, okay, this can't be 7 floors of anime and manga alone. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It goes each floor ascending. It's like it goes cosplay stuff, doujin stuff, hentai stuff, games, animes, and I forgot what the top floor was. But it goes up the floors. So as soon as we got into the game part, we were looking around for like a few things here and there. And I was like, okay, there's a few good things I want. I got them, and everything in this shop, I have to make note. Everything in the shop is second hand. But because
really, okay,
everything is so looked after, you would never have guessed it was second hand. It's quite literally, you look at it and go, this has got to be brand new. No, it's second hand. And you pay like a fraction of the price you would have done if it was brand new.
It sounds very similar to a site Joe said he visited as well. It sounds very, I can't remember the name, but I think Joe went there as well. But yeah, that sounds amazing.
And that shop is the reason, and Stephen, actually, I should mention, these two are the reason I nearly went bankrupt out there. I nearly went broke out there because of those two.
We'll get to your bounty. Don't worry about that. I want details of what you got. Don't worry.
Like that list of what I came back with was insane. It's like the first day, first time into that shop, I found. I don't know if you've seen it. You must have. It's like the Goku and Luffy fusion figurines, the really rare ones where you've got
what?
Yeah, you've got one where you've got Goku dressed in Luffy's pirate gear, and then you've got Luffy dressed in Goku's orange jumpsuit. Yeah. They are supposedly very, very rare in Japan, and we found it there for 2,000 yen.
Wow, what's that equivalent to?
What's 2,000 yen equivalent to? Just under just under £20.
What?
Yeah, just under £20.
And this, wow, rare?
Yeah, and we looked at it, and I thought to myself, that's really awesome. I'm going to come back for that later, just because I'm a little bit starstruck at what's in this store, and there are some proper rare like figurines you won't find anywhere in the UK. Even if you try to eBay it, you will have some proper difficulty trying to find it.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were some that I picked up, and I just couldn't believe I actually got them. I was like, yeah, I've got this. This is awesome. I know the UK would never have it. I picked up actually the Shonen Jump Naruto special chapter DVD that led up to the Road to Ninja movie that just finished out there while we were there. And there was only like one. I think there's 1,000 of them that's ever been made or been released for Shonen Jump at the time, or probably just a little over that. I picked it up for like 800 yen. That's £6. It was like, this is a rare find in itself. And I suppose I got a little bit carried away because, as I mentioned the guy Stephen before, every time I bought something, he'd have to try and one-up me, and I spent a week one-upping him.
Well, that sounds like a very bad game to play.
I think for the better part of that week, I was leading until he found something. Then I had to top him again, and it just went mad. So,
wow, you should play who can empty their wallet faster. That's what it sounds like you guys were playing.
Oh, God, it literally got to that point where we were literally destroying each other's wallets.
Oh man, see, you know what? I have to ask, since we're already in the midst of the manga anime talk, what title out there was the thing that was just the highlight of your whole trip? You couldn't turn around without seeing, because I asked Joe this as well. Every year, even online, there seems to be one title everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
And in Japan last year, what was that for you? What did you see everywhere? What was being ultra promoted?
Okay, maybe I don't know if it was for the entire year, but while I was there, a lot of it was heavily focused on 3 titles. I'm not going to say One Piece, just because One Piece in Japan is a whole nother level of manga and franchise and everything. The 3 that I did take notice of was Tiger and Bunny. That was bizarrely heavily promoted out there, and it was just everywhere. People went completely gaga over it. And it also helped that the week we were there, they were releasing the Tiger and Bunny movie.
That movie, is that the rehash movie? The first 2 episode movie? Is it that one? Or is it the second movie? Because I know there's 2 movies of Tiger and Bunny.
Yeah, there is. The one that I watched was called Tiger and Bunny at the Beginning, which is, in a sense, is a retelling of the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, that's the one I thought. Yeah,
and there's another one that's coming out this year. I think it's probably about September time or just after that. And it takes off the next set of episodes before they hit the third one, which I'm assuming is going to finish it all off. But it does, the movie does fill in, like, it does explain more about, obviously, Tiger's background and, like, how Bunny...
Well, don't go into spoilers, just in case...
Oh, no, I haven't given anything away. I mean, the film itself is actually really, really good, but I'll get to it later. Like, Tiger and Bunny was one of the series out there that really was surprising how popular it was. Another one was called Excel World, and obviously Sword Art Online. Excel World and Sword Art Online came out last year in the same season. However, Excel World was only scheduled for 13 episodes. Or was it 13 or 26? Sorry, I stand corrected. For 26 episodes. It came out in the summer season of Japan's airing broadcast and ran for 26 episodes. Whereas Sword Art came out in the autumn and ran through to winter. So they ran concurrently just after each other. But they were the three big shows. And another one that a lot of people don't know, but it's also quite big in Japan, but it's not like Sword Art or Tiger and Bunny or Excel World, where it's got its own. It's like Gundam in a sense. It's called Muv Love.
What? Let me hear that. Well, repeat that.
Spelled MUV-LUV.
Okay. What's that about?
It's a mecha show, but one it evolves around is aliens attacking Earth. And it's like there was a series that came out last season, and it was called Muv Love Alternative, and that one's the more popular of the storylines, and that in Japan is quite huge as well. It's like if you didn't know Gundam existed and you walked into Japan and were looking at mechas, Muv Love Alternative was another one. If I pronounced it wrong and anyone could pronounce it better than me, come ahead and let us know.
Oh, don't. We're British. I don't know if you guys didn't realize Hab is British just like me, so. Yeah. We do our best, Hab. Don't worry about the pronunciation. That's fine. Go ahead, man.
That out there is actually surprisingly really, really popular. And, like, the series came out, I think, last season. Yeah, last season it came out. But you go out there and it's just bizarre how that's taken off.
Do you know what? Speaking of Tiger and Bunny, I've only watched just over 16 episodes, and I could see how that would appeal to everyone. It's very... I don't want to say Americanized, but it's what people are kind of used to. It's like a Japanese take on a superhero theme, a buddy cop kind of thing. Yeah. I think it's amusing.
It is, and the thing is though, is like when you watch it, did you not watch it through to the end?
I watched all the dub. I've just got to episode 16, and I could definitely see the appeal and people getting excited for it. Very, very humorous, and for some reason, I'm picturing you in Japan, and I'm picturing you in front of two guys that are dressed as Tyro and Bunny. Did you actually get to see anyone wearing the kind of suits?
Yeah, no, we didn't actually find anyone wearing those. Actually, or did we? That might have been at TGS. No, I don't remember seeing anyone actually in the suits per se. I'm pretty sure I would have taken a photo of them.
Did you see any big action figures of them? You must have seen some figures.
Oh, God, yeah. There was tons of action figures out there. Some of them have just I think, only just hit the UK in terms of you can buy them. There's like, I think, how big is it? It's like a foot high Wild Tiger and Bunny model kit, which you can buy of them in their armor and everything. And that, when I was out in Japan, that had just come out, and it looked absolutely amazing. There's about 7 different versions of them out there.
Wow. And same thing with Sword Art Online. Did you see a lot of merchandise for Sword Art Online as well?
I did, but because Sword Art hadn't technically finished, Sword Art was kind of halfway through its sort of like its serialization. It just hit its halfway, like its end of season 1, so to speak. And it was slowly picking up. I mean, I bought a couple of things out there, Sword Art related, but it was still, as I was out there, it was still ongoing. So you didn't know what else they were going to bring out in relation to it. But there was so much stuff coming out for it, and you were just seeing the popularity of it really, really go through the roof.
Yeah, that was something. And the death threats I got about my review for it was something else too. I don't know if you got to listen to that, but yeah.
I did know there was I did see on Spill there was someone did a review for Sword Art, and I forgot who actually. I think it was Tron who did the review for it. I mean, all praise to him for doing his own review in it. It was a very good review, but obviously everyone's got their own opinion and take on it. For me, I saw Sword Art Online as one of the best animes of last year, and because it was just different, and it was one of those things where we've all played games. How many of us wouldn't like to play a game where you get to run around killing creatures with a sword?
No, sorry. I think the concept was great. I don't think there was nothing wrong with the concept. I just didn't like the implementation of it. Yeah. I don't want to get into another argument, and hey, I know me and we've argued about other things anyway before, but yeah, I appreciate everyone's opinion. Tron and John both repped for it. You know what I mean? I give you two props. You stood up for it. You said your piece, and I always respect someone for speaking their piece. And you know, I'm sure out there you just found so many people that were loving that franchise.
Yeah, I mean, I even got to watch it live on TV Tokyo. That's how messed up it was. We were sitting in the hotel. All of us were like, "Sword Art on tonight! Quick, everyone head back to the hotel." Midnight hits, and we're all just flicking onto TV Tokyo. It turns up, we're like, "Yeah, 1080p, HD definition, Sword Art Online." And it was amazing.
Wow. All right, man. So what other anime-related things you do out there? You saw, I'm getting all the toys. Did you see a lot of other titles? Anything else you want to bring up, anime-wise? Or was you just hitting like stores, merchandise, places?
Any place that sold anime figurines we pretty much went to. Is that the first day alone was us at Nakahara. I think the second day we went to Harajuku, which is, I believe, the Japanese equivalent to Bond Street.
Nice.
Yes, so it's quite literally full of fashion shops. Like, some of them are designer, some of them are Japanese own brand ones, but they're all proper fashion designer ones. And we were walking around there, and the initial concept of that was we went to the Magi Shrine on that second day just to check it out. But it was pouring down the rain, and it was absolutely amazing going there. It's like when you actually go to a Japanese shrine, you kind of feel like you've actually stepped into a very, very holy place, and you just don't want to do anything wrong.
Of course, yeah. Do you have people there kind of talking you through etiquette and how to do things?
Not so much. Mainly because there's nothing for you to really do there. They've opened up to be a tourist place, but you're free to wander within certain places.
So is it like a museum of sorts? Then?
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like a museum. You can, if you wish to, you can make a small donation to the shrine. You can write a prayer or a wish, and I think it's like 500 yen. Because my brother did one, and a friend of ours did one as well. So you see those in the animes where they've got the square like the wooden blocks or logs that you can put to a tree and everything, and you write your wish and stuff like that. So that's the same thing happen. You just pay 500 yen, write a wish down, put it onto the tree, and make a small prayer, and you hope that your wish comes through. And that was quite nice seeing that, actually.
Did you get to do other cultural stuff in Japan, traditional Japanese things when you were out there?
We did. That was more for the second week, because the second week was more relaxed, so you were a bit more open to do other things.
So the first week you went anime crazy, and the second week you decided to relax. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, because the second week I so needed it.
Yeah.
So needed it. But
let me not rush you through the first week then, since you was only there for 2 weeks anyway, weren't you?
2 weeks was the longest you could stay, unless you had other ways of staying there for longer. But initially, the package tour, I did say that I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's more than enough time.
Definitely more than enough time. Like the second day we were there, it's like in Harajuku, we were walking around, and we found a shop called Toyland. So you can instantly imagine what I thought when I heard about this. I was like, Toyland? Where is that? So we went down to it. And strange enough, in Harajuku, the Neon Genesis Evangelion store is actually there. It's not a big store. It's quite a small one, but it's actually situated there in Harajuku. But I never got a chance to go to it just because we were constricted to about a couple of hours being there before we had to go elsewhere. So we spent about an hour in Toyland on the very top floor, where I probably bought the biggest thing I'd ever bought anime-related.
And what's that?
Obviously, the TV series Full Metal Panic.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously, most people know this. If you don't, I seriously suggest people give it a try.
It is one of my favorite mecha shows, to be honest with you. I just wish that I might need to read the manga, because I actually want to know where the story's going. Because even after the last
second raid series,
it didn't. I think the story hasn't really even gone far.
It actually has, as I kept up with it. As I actually read to see how things were going, and it's gotten actually quite far. I'm pretty sure the mangaka is actually quite close to ending it. In what time frame, I can't say to when, but it does. When you read up to the point where it's at now, you can feel that it's coming to a close very soon.
Yeah, I was always interested into the special people.
Yeah, the Whisper.
That they were always hinting at, and they would bring it up, and they'll focus more on the military aspects. But it's immensely popular. Fumofu was an amazing success.
Yes.
One of the funniest comedies, that you turn something semi-serious into a full-blown comedy, and then you turn it back serious again. It's crazy.
It's crazy. My brother loves that series. I love it as well. I bought that purely on a whim. And I bought the first DVD when they used to release them as singlets, and you got 4 episodes, and you paid like 19 quid for 4 episodes. And if you've ever done that, my heart bleeds for you, because I've done it, and it's just bizarre that we'd ever did that.
I want that toy that he's, you know, in Fumofu, he's in that big suit.
Yeah, Bonta.
Bonta,
Yeah.
I want a suit like that holding a machine gun.
If you buy one of those and bring it to the next spill party, that'd be awesome.
I'm gonna try.
Just drop kick Corey with it.
Yeah. Oh, damn right. That would really make me laugh, man. But you know what? I got another question for you as well. I'm curious. You know, one thing that always bugs me about when I'm watching anime with these high school themes, you see high school girls walking around all the time, and even in the big city, and it looks like that you see all these otaku walking around. Did you get to see like a big otaku culture out there? I know you said you saw a lot of stores, but did you get to see a lot of Japanese natives walking around?
You do.
Reading manga, maybe.
Some
you know.
do actually. So, there was even a place where we went to. There's a place called Nakano Broadway, and that is like, oh, that is a nightmare, because I told you obviously earlier about that shop called Mandarake. Mm-hmm. Nakano Broadway has about 30 shops of 30 of them in this one place, and they're all like little shops, but they have so much anime in there, and it's all different. Like you have one shop dedicated to Gundam, one to One Piece, one to Naruto. Any other anime series you can think of is all related to one of these shops, and they're all under one brand name of Mandarake. And you just walk in, and it's like, oh my god, everything here is second hand, but it's dirt cheap. I have no room in my suitcase for half this stuff. But it was amazing walking in there. But
and you got to saw a lot of locals.
Oh yeah,
in there as well.
Definitely got to saw a lot of locals. They're all like the one thing I should make clear. I don't know if Joe mentioned this, but the Japanese people in general are the nicest people you will ever meet out there. If they know you're a tourist, they will give you 110% of their attention. They will make sure that your stay is the best stay you've ever had. Obviously, that's to the fact that you're a tourist. But if you are a local, they still treat you the same way. For them, customer service is another level that you never get here.
They're very respectable people.
Oh, yeah, everything. They don't. If you've got a complaint or anything, they will like deal with it, like, you know, right there and then. No hard feelings. We'll sort everything out. You get that stuff here. People come in, the first thing they do, they go on the offensive.
You know, actually, I'm a bit confused with you, actually, Habib. You don't sound like you had any issues. You don't speak Japanese, do you?
I speak enough that I was okay out there. What it is, I know a few phrases
while
I was out
bitch.
there. What?
You're lucky, because Joe was complaining that he doesn't speak a lot of Jap, and it obviously it's like a boundary for him to kind of. But you know, if you know the basics to ask for how much this is and what's this, that, and that. Because it sounds like, you know, everything with you sounds very, very fluid.
Yeah.
You know, you got to just roll with it. But, you know, for a normal tourist, someone like Joe, even myself, I can't speak Japanese. It might, you know, I might find barriers with certain things. But so you're saying you spoke enough just to get along? I
can converse if I have enough time to understand what they've said. And my brother is the opposite. He can understand instantly what they're saying. You ask him to respond in kind, he'll have no idea what to say. They'll speak to me, and I'll be like, okay, give me like 30 seconds to understand and translate what you said, and I've got a response. And once I figured out, the response came out like that, and I knew what to say. Yeah, so it was okay, and funny enough, I learned all of it watching anime, so it helped.
That was my next question. You self-taught yourself through anime.
Yeah, it helps. Like, if you watch enough of it, and like most of us do, we all watch anime in Japanese, you're going to pick up some words eventually. So it helps to pick up a few words here and there. And, you know, since I've been back, I've been trying to learn more. So it's for when I go back again.
I've bought the For Dummies book. I'm semi-serious. I've got all the material I need, and I do want to go to Japan myself, which is something I'm going to ask you later on as well about advice and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear, you know, one of Joel's biggest advices was learn a little bit of Jap. You already had that down, so obviously that's why it sounds like your trip was just that much more, you know, enjoyable.
I mean, even if you don't know any Japanese, there was one of the guys we were with, his name is Jack, his fiance gave him a small little black book with phrases to learn, and we looked, and the only phrase that he actually needed to use was sumimasen, which means excuse me. And after that, he would just be like, sumimasen, look at the waitress, big dirty grin on his face. It was like, dude, what's the next thing you say? And then he looked to one of us to translate. We were just like, dude, what did you want? I can understand you want the waitress to come over, but what was the next part of your question?
No,
it was that's another way to get around it in Japan. Write down a few phrases so you can say it, and that's one way of getting around the barrier. But obviously, there's also, like, with the age of technology now, smartphones have applications that allow you to get translations, teach you a few phrases. I mean, just recently I bought one off the Apple store, and it was Learn Japanese Pro, and it was like $2.99, and it's a full thing. It's got you everything you can know for catchphrases,
Thank you, sir. I'm just buying the app right now.
Yeah, it's quite literally that simple. It's $2.99. You click on the app, and it actually pronounces it for you. So you'll sit there, play it again until you figure out how to say it, and you're good to go. So
Now that's some great advice. What's the name of the app again?
learn Japanese.
Learn Japanese.
Learn
okay.
Japanese Pro, but there is a free version. But if you download either one, you just pay. The free one will allow you to pay for the upgrades, but it's $2.99 in the UK.
I'm going to put the link in the show notes, people, because I'm going to get it. And I advise anyone going to Japan, get that app. I mean, don't you just love technology today? And also, that's another thing I want to ask you. Apart from the anime stuff, did you see any crazy techno things? You know, because Japan's always got its reputation for being this crazy place with panties in the vending machines
Legit,
and crazy
by the way, I have to
toilets.
admit.
What was that?
That is actually legit, the whole panties in a vending machine. There's one of the guys I was out there, his name was Gavin, he told me that there is actually one in Akihabara, but you have to come on kind of a mission to find it. But he said the last time he was there, they found it. And I'm not going to badmouth Ellis in any way, but when I went out there, before I went out, he did tell me, can you buy me a panty from the vending machine and bring it back? And I said, if I could find one, it's yours. But I'm not sure how your fiancé is going to take it.
Ellis!
Yeah, sorry.
Hey, man. No. It's all fun. It's all fun. If everyone wants a souvenir, some people's taste just different than others.
Yeah. Ellis is a lot weirder now. So, but it's everyone's taste. You can't judge much, but
yeah. So, did you see any crazy, weird? Because coming from Britain to Japan, what culturally did you see? In buildings that struck you as weird and different.
Okay, Akihabara is probably the best example for this. Was when we were there. You know how most places, when you walk around central London, you just get normal buildings. There's no real form of advertising on it. In Akihabara, there is so much advertising for anime, games on the buildings, you'd have no clue what business they were. As I was walking past just down the high road, there was about 9 adverts going up the side of a building for about 7 different Lolicon games and H games. Just out and open.
On the building, on the front?
Yeah, on the front of the building. It's like if you walk past and saw a Gap advert. That's the equivalent.
Was it explicit?
No, it's just an advert of the game, and you just see like the main characters on it, and they just tell you in Japanese what this game is, when it's out, and what to expect and how much to pay. That's it. That's the equivalent to a Gap advert.
On the previous podcast, when I spoke to Joe, he said he went to the manga museum. Did you see anything manga based out there? Any particular manga shops or anything like that?
They're normally integrated with sort of the anime side of it as well. So there was one manga shop I went to in Kyoto, and that was surreal because I didn't know what to expect walking into a manga shop in Japan, but it was actually quite interesting because you've got all the mangas laid out, and because obviously mangas in the UK are a hell of a lot bigger than the ones in Japan. The Japanese one are kind of like half the size.
Really? Okay.
But the way they've got it all positioned, they've got them in categories. Like series, big series, and you've got the small independent ones. You've got the ones that are complete, the ones that are most likely to be like. They even had the complete 10 Koma collection of Sword Art Online on sale, and you had no idea how much I wanted to buy that and bring it home.
Did you get any manga while you were out there?
No, because I would have had no room. What I did buy there was a lot of. No, I didn't buy any manga. I was out there.
You're more of a figurine guy. That's what you had your mind set on.
I bought figurines, but also I'm a big art book fan as well. So I bought a couple of art books while I was out.
Okay, that's cool. That's very, very cool. What art books you get?
I got one for Phantom Requiem of the Inferno. That's a good. I bought art book for that one. Tiger and Bunny one, a couple of Fate Zero ones, the Fairy Tail one, the Fantasia one. I came out not that long ago. I bought that, I think, the day it came out, and I just coincidentally I walked into the manga shop and found it, so I bought that one. But yeah, that was interesting, like buying those. The thing is, the art books aren't even that expensive; they're about £8, probably at most being a tenner, but it's still for an art book. That's pretty good.
Okay. So, believe it or not, a lot of what you've already been talking about has answered quite a lot of my questions, and I'm not going to ask you to repeat a lot of things because I know there's quite a lot of things you probably want to mention out of place, not in any particular order. So I'm just going to go through the list of the rest of my questions, and then I'm going to let you add anything else you want to talk about your trip on top. All right?
Yeah, cool. Go ahead, dude.
All right. This might be a little bit weird. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it out there. Some people might think I'm just being a bit too sensitive or something, but you already said the people treated you really well out there, really polite, the Japanese really well and all that. Just for people's information, you are British, but what's your ethnic origin?
My ethnic origin is I am part Bengali, part Malay.
Okay, because when we first met, you do look Asian,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought you were Japanese. Even though your face is very round.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You got a very soft-looking face. I know it's sort of the best description. So I wasn't sure. So you're kind of half and half. Yeah. You're a mix. And so when you went out, I asked this for Joe as well, because I want to go to Japan, but I'm a black guy. And I've heard, certain things about racism in Japan, just like any other country.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Japan's any different than any other country. But, I've been weary. So you've already answered this. You said they've treated you really, really well. Did you think you passed off as Japanese going there? I'm just going to ask in black and white.
Definitely not. They can tell that I'm not Japanese just by off the offset. I mean, if you were ever to meet me, most people who don't know me instantly assume I'm Filipino. I got that pretty much going through college, into university, working. Unless people actually know me personally or they have a small garner of what I am. I mean, I think there was only 2 people, probably since my adult life, they've actually guessed roughly kind of where my origins lay. And it was kind of surprising that they knew. One guy thought I was from New Zealand just because I said I liked a film that came out a few years ago called...
Based on a film
It was a film that was made in New Zealand. He think just because I thought the film was great, he thought I was from New Zealand. From it, I thought, that's really nice of you to say so. But no, good guess, I suppose. But a lot of people assume, like, when they initially meet me, think I'm Filipino, but I'm not. It's just it's a common mistake that most people make in regard to me.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a weird question, but I just want to get your opinion. You believe, or you were treated really nice?
Yeah.
The people very courteous, very respectful.
I've always believed that if you treat people nice, they respond in kind. So, I mean, if you went out to Japan and treated everyone the same way, there would be no difference. You'd be treated as if you were like anybody else. They would treat you just the same.
In Japan, did you get to see a lot of different races out there? I know.
Okay, now this is probably something we should discuss off the podcast, but there was a few black guys out there, but that's for another time when we're not recording this podcast, and I'll explain that to you later.
Well, you know what? I will say this. Joe mentioned that there were some black guys in Japan, and they were trying to hustle. They were hustling. I don't know if that's the route you're going to go down.
No,
but
it's not so much hustle. It's more a stereotype that you might get, and a few other the older listeners of Planet Tyro might get, but I'll explain it to you off the air, and then if you want to alliterate what I said later on, that's purely up to you.
Fine. Obviously, that's fine. And, obviously, if people might message you asking you in the comment section, that's up to them. But, yeah.
No, obviously, if they want to ask me, I'll explain. But I just want to make sure, if I do explain this, please do not be offended by what I say.
That's fine. But, you get things like that in every single country. It doesn't matter where you go. And I just wanted to understand your perspective and your experience of that. But generally, from what you, and even what Joe told me as well, things sound really, really, the people sound really respectable.
Yeah.
And really, just courteous out there.
Yeah.
So
you could not imagine any one of those people trying to do you harm. It just didn't make any sense while you're out there. It's like they welcome you into your country and into their country, and for them, tourism is a big thing for them. So if you were there to spend money, they would treat you like the royalty if they have to.
That makes sense. They've got Japanese have got a reputation for being very reserved, very, even to an extent, don't mean to use a negative word, but even antisocial to a certain extent, And obviously that's another reason why I was wondering if you got a sense of any of that. But when you put it the way you put it, as in you're a customer, they want to serve you. It's a business as well.
Yeah.
They would want you to come. They would want you to spend your money there. So,
and they'd also want you to come back as well. I think it was like the third day I was there. We were walking out of the hotel to go to. Oh God, forgot where we were going. Might have been to Geopolis. That's a giant arcade place where where the giant Gundam statue is in Japan.
I've never heard of that. They've got a giant Gundam statue in Japan.
Yeah, there's a functioning Gundam statue, like a proper life-size Gundam statue.
Gundam statue.
Yeah, there's a functioning Gundam statue. It's not obviously going to be start shooting and walking around doing what you see in the animes. But at certain times, I think at 3 o'clock every day, it can move its head and its arms, and the cockpit bit does open up.
Wow. So, is that padded and everything, or is it stone? What's it made of?
I think it's actually metal, but I'm obviously not adamantium or Gundanium or whatever they decide to make it out of. various shows. But it is, I think it's pretty much just still.
Tell me you took a picture.
Oh God, yeah, I took a picture. I took several.
I'm gonna have to try to get one of those pictures on the site, mate.
Yeah, I'll fish it out and send it to you. I'll even post one on our add it to the review when you posted this up afterwards. So
please. All right, man. So moving on, because we're getting to the end of my questions, and then I'm gonna give you a chance to add on any other stories or anything else you want to bring up. But have you got any kind of crazy, funny stories that happened to you or the people you went with when you were out there?
There was many stories out there, but the most funniest one was sort of it was sort of at the end of the week, the first week, and the initial group who came out there, this was sort of their last night, and they were all going to go back to the UK. One of the guys we were there, his name was Jack, and he was the youngest member of the group, and he was young, he wanted to have fun, which is understandable. I mean, you're in another country, why not experience everything it has to offer? So he asked myself and my brother to go over, and we'll go find a place to get a drink and, sit down and relax and everything. So we went to a pub. Strange enough, around the corner from us, there was a British pub in Shinjuku, which we laughed our asses off at.
Did it have the name Ye Old or the Black Shepherd or anything like that?
Actually, I think it was actually called the Black Shepherd or something near enough that line. It was such a typical English name for a pub.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah.
But we got in there, we had a couple of drinks, and he was just eyeing every Japanese girl in the bar, in the pub, and everything. And to be fair, during that time of year, the Japanese fashion was truly incredible. I'm not going to lie. Sorry to the female listeners who are listening to this, but I'm going to just break it down. They wore denim hot pants and high heels and a boob tube. And that was it. That was what Japanese women wore. And all I could do was just drool. I might have suffered dehydration at some point in my trip, but they were absolutely astonishing.
Sexy Japanese ladies. Hey, yes. What's not to like?
And the best thing was, this is for a friend of mine that we were at. But this is sort of like a running joke I've had with him. Was at the last expo we went to. But you get some of the cosplayers who dress up in like the female clothing and they're guys, but they do it really badly and make it quite obvious. I said, there you go up to that one and offer him a kiss. Because obviously they're offering free hugs and kisses, so go there. And he just freaked out and ran away. And in Japan, I found an Okama bar. And for those who don't know what Okama means Japanese, I found a gay bar.
Okay.
So it was quite literally full-on gay bar transvestite. I found one. Down the road from my hotel.
Nice.
And so, the thing is that unless you actually knew what that sign meant, you'd have no idea. But they actually look like pretty attractive women. They're wearing the dresses, and they've got everything you could think to make them look like females. And until you actually read the sign and went, hang on, that's an Okama bar. That's not right.
Damn.
But going back to this story about our friend Jack, he wanted my brother to help him chat up 3 girls in the bar. Time passed, and eventually they got to the point where he was going to ask, he wanted to chat to them, know them. And I thought, okay, it's 1 o'clock, they're kicking us all out. So, okay, we get out the bar. I've gone out for some fresh air. It's been about 10 minutes, and I'm like, where the hell are the other 2? Go back downstairs. He's standing at the bar with another Japanese guy. My brother's standing sort of just behind him to his right. And the Japanese girl that we were all talking to, or not talking to, were looking at, and before, she's having a conversation. Now, the other Japanese fellow who's talking to Jack is helping to translate, because obviously the girl doesn't know that much English, but the guy knows quite a fair amount of English, and he's acting as translator. And my brother doesn't help, because he likes to interject certain phrases, and Jack just say them in response. And then afterwards ask, what did that mean? Ugh. So, I mean, the conversation
for disaster.
He said to the translator, can you tell the girl that I like her? The translator had no idea what he said. And I thought to myself, okay, it's time I interject. Let me part some of my Japanese knowledge as well. Let me impress the locals. So I said to the guy, "Orewaski desu." And the guy went, "Oh!" If you don't know what that means, I said the translation means he likes her, or he likes, or I like you, is what he wanted to translate to the girl. And the guy responded. The translator looked at me and, "Oh, so that's what he said." I couldn't get it, but his accent's too thick. I should make note, Jack is from West Bromwich, so his accent is a little bit hard to understand if you didn't know that. So, at the end of it, Jack ended up going off with these 3 girls to another club or a pub or whatever.
Really?
Yeah, they just went off. But the thing is, because my brother and I were going, we had to get up early because we had to get on a train down to Kyoto really early, and we had to be at the hotel by 10. It was getting to like 1 o'clock, nearly like 1:30, and we were like, okay, we've been a long day. I'm mad tired and I need to get some sleep. So he disappeared. 6 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call in the hotel room, and it's one of the guys, and he's phoned me. He goes, "Hab, is Jack with you?" I'm like, "No, he went off with some girls after we left him alone last night." I'm like, "Why?" Because he hasn't come back to the hotel yet. We just went, "Oh, where he disappeared to?" And they were supposed to be leaving at 6 o'clock to hit the airport. I think it got to about just 10 past 6. Jack came running into the hotel. "I'm so sorry, I'm late." Ran up to his hotel room, grabbed his bags, and they got onto the coach to get to the airport. That was his story. That was just hilarious. The stuff he did.
Did he have a good night?
Actually, I can't say that because I don't know, because I don't want his fiancée to find out. But his night ended okay for him. But not what he was expecting.
Fine. Yeah, fair enough.
He had a good night, which was okay. So,
man, that's good stuff, man. Any other good crazy stories for you personally, or anything else?
Trying to think what happened to me. I mean, it was mostly what happened to other people actually, because I was just watching it, was just absorbing in. But Nakano Broadway, that was it. I think it was on the third or fourth day we were doing sort of like part of the tour. I mentioned Nakano Broadway before. We went there and spent, I think, pretty much majority of the day there. Oh, no, sorry. We got there really early. Realised that Nakano Broadway wasn't open, so we went down to the Pokemon Center and then to the Yu-Gi-Oh store.
Nice. Pokemon Center. That sounds good. Did they have a Nurse Jenny there?
If only. If there was a Nurse Jenny there, I would have actually attempted to chat her up, but I might have failed epically at that part as well. But the thing is, when you walk into the Pokemon store, I had such misgivings about this place. I've expected to see the Pokemon Center from the actual anime. Like
exactly, that's what I assumed.
In Japan, that's what I was expecting to see. I didn't see that. I just got like a small shop, and I was like, "Oh man," I was quite upsetting. I wanted to see the Pokeball and everything, and I didn't get that. But walking into that store, it was like absolutely surreal. The amount of Pokemon in there was amazing. And the day that we were there, they said if you were there and you bought your 3DS or your DS with you, and you bought something from the Pokemon store, I think you had to spend about 8,000 or more yen, and they would have given you 2 free Pokemon to take away with you.
Wow. What, plush toys?
No. Actual, like, for the game characters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
So they were given that if you spent a certain amount. So the group they went around and just bought a ton of stuff. And I was looking around. I watched Pokemon the original series. Never really played the games, but my brothers played them quite a bit, and I watched and I know bits here and there. I looked around and they were selling the new plush toy, which was a Lugia. I forgot which game it's from, but they were selling that Pokemon plush. I looked down and thought, that's a really cool plush. I'm buying one of those. But I'll buy it for a friend. Like his son's just going to be turning 1 soon, so that can be his present from Japan, and double as a birthday present. And then I thought to myself, I want one too.
That's what you thought in the first place.
If you've seen the pictures of my bounty, you will see there's 2 Lugias sitting on top of my stuff. One was for me, and I'm not going to deny it. It's a cool freaking plush.
One's for you and one's for yourself?
No, one's for me, one's for a friend's son.
Oh, funny. That sounds cool. I buy Yu-Gi-Oh stuff for my nephew, actually. So, but they don't sell the classics anymore. They don't sell the Bulbasaur, the Charmander. They've gone way past that level now.
Yeah, it's all thing. It's all the newer ones, and you're like, oh man, I remember Charmander. I wanted a Charmander.
I can't even tell you Pokemon. The phrase for Pokemon used to be "gotta catch them all." That's impossible now.
That pretty much is, because you can't. Because there's always like untold hundreds of Pokemon being designed and released and genetically engineered and everything.
Yeah.
Jack, he bought I don't know if you know consoles, but you obviously know of the 3DS that came out last year. Mm-hmm. Japan has a royal blue or dark midnight blue 3DS, which is only available in Japan.
Okay.
And the Pokemon game that just came out there as well. I think he bought, I forgot which it was, black or white.
They're always releasing special Pokemon editions of the Game Boys Advances and stuff, though, aren't they?
This wasn't a Pokemon themed one. This was just it was like a midnight blue 3DS.
Oh, okay. I understand. A rare one,
then. A rare one. And don't get me wrong, it looks nice once you take it out of the box. It's got a really nice shade of blue on it. But when you look and see how much he spent, how much did he spend? 15,000 yen on it? That's 150 quid, roughly, he spent on that. And I was like, why did you buy a Japanese DS which you can't read the game to? I just wanted it. That was his response. And we just laughed.
Oh boy, you guys.
Later on, I'll explain to you how much money you need to take to survive in Japan and what you need.
Oh, I was just thinking that, but yeah, we'll save that for a little bit later anyway.
What else happened in there? There's that. We went to the Resident Evil bar.
Oh, that sounds fucking awesome. Resident Evil bar.
That I didn't even know that existed until I met the people I went with. I didn't even know it was there.
All right, give us some details of that. I have to ask for details of the Resident Evil.
It was the Resident Evil bar opened up last year in July, and it's scheduled to open for exactly 1 year. So a few people knew about this, and we went down to it, and we did it sort of like as a group outing. So we thought, okay, it was a few people like, can we get reservations? We all want to go. It ended up the entire group went down. So we all came down, and we thought we'd sit in the Resident Evil bar and have this meal in this themed restaurant. And at the time of the Resident Evil bar, when we were there, when we went out to Japan, what film was it? Resident Evil 6 Retribution, or whatever one it was, that had just come out in the cinema in Japan. So it helped to promote the restaurant as well.
I was going to ask if they were going to take advantage of the actual US movies.
Yeah, they did.
Or they were going to stick to the games.
No, they did. They did the movies, the games, everything.
They mixed it all in one, yeah.
Yeah, so we walked into it, and it is literally everything you can think of that's Resident Evil, even up to even stuff that you would have seen in the Resident Evil 6 prior to its release. It was just like everything in there. And at the back of the restaurant, there is a giant figurine of Nemesis from the second one, and he's a big dude. He was huge. I've got like a 10-minute video of like certain things they did. Like towards the end of the night, they do a dance.
Not the Thriller dance.
They do a dance in like, because they're wearing like the Stars uniform. They've got the black shirt tied up, denim pants, the knee-high boots, and they just start putting like toy guns off the wall. Nemesis is about to come charging through and kill everyone, and people from the audience to kill Nemesis, and you just go, "This is awesome. Why is this only open for a year?"
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. Yeah, maybe it's a testing thing. Maybe they want to see how successful and if they could have it for the long haul later or something.
I don't think they intended to keep it longer than a year. They might after the year it's done. They might change it to another themed restaurant. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that that Resident Evil restaurant was only staying open for a year.
Were they selling stuff like blood drinks and were they doing any gimmicky stuff like that?
That wasn't not at the Resident Evil bar, but at one of the other places we went to eat, they did do that. This is probably one of the experiences that I actually found quite amusing now that I think about it. One of the nights we went out as a group to eat was a restaurant called the Lockdown or Lockup. It's a prison-themed restaurant. So think of it as Alcatraz in... where did we go again?
Damn, Japan's crazy. Prison-themed restaurant, crazy.
Yeah, it was. I forgot where we went to. Was it Shibuya? I forgot. It might have been Shibuya. It was not that far from where we went. It was about 2 stops down. And so we went to this restaurant to have food, and it was a nice place. And one of the things that they sit you down in a waiting area, and then like the tour guide went to me, right, who wants to get handcuffed and dragged to the table? I kind of stopped and went, sorry. He's like, yeah, the waitress is going to come.
Yeah.
And she's going to handcuff you and lead you to the table. And I just jumped up like a hyperactive kid on sugar. I was like, me. It's got to be me. I want to do it. And I thought, yeah, okay, it's going to be plastic handcuffs. She turned up and she was like the cutest waitress I've ever seen.
Nice.
She slapped on the handcuffs on my wrist, and these weren't even like toy handcuffs. These were proper full-on metal chains, like I was actually going to prison. I looked, holy crap, what happened? And to be fair, because I'm quite a tall man myself, getting dragged to the sitting area was like trying to make my way out of an actual small cave, because I was so close to headbutting half the ceiling.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I'm spent ducking half the set and everything in it.
Yeah.
Finally got to the place, and we all crawled in, sat down, and like you would do in a normal Japanese restaurant. You've got a table, you sit cross-legged on the mat, and the table's ready in front of you, and they just bring out this buffet of like choice of what you want to eat. And some of the drinks that they offered were actually really, really impressive. We had this one drink which was mango juice, WKD red, but water with a ton. It's got a ton of ice in it, so it's crushed, sort of semi-crushed ice, but it's diluted a bit of the WKD red, and then you put candy floss on the top.
Whoa!
You then mix the drinks together, and that was just an unbelievable drink.
Do you know what? I don't think I've asked you a lot about the kind of foods you ate out there as well. Actually, come to think about it.
Oh no, yeah, I'll talk about this after then. But no, the drink that I had there, that mango candy floss drink, was absolutely amazing. I think I went through about 5 of these, and it wasn't just me. So I had like 3 of these. My brother got one, and like a couple of friends we were, they've got one, and even Jake the tour guide got one. And he was like, oh, let me try this thing. So he puts it together, and we're just like, this is awesome. But there was another one where they got this sort of like chemistry set thing. It's like you got a beaker of milk, and you just put random flavors into it, and you drank it.
What they just gave you a set of like different things to mix it with, and then you just
Imagine like a chemistry set. You've got like the beaker stand and all the different test tubes, and it's got different fluids in it, or like liquors and everything. You just put that into a beaker of milk, and you take the odd sip, and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. And it was absolutely amazing. But one thing about that restaurant we went to, there was at certain points in the night, somebody imagine someone wearing a scream mask with like blue dreads coming out, tried to freak everyone out. So you can imagine he comes to freak out the non-Japanese. He starts rattling the cage, and he's like, ah! Everyone in that room just kind of did that slow-mo turn to the door and looked at him like deadpanned.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you're not that scary. And he stopped us and waved and walked off. And then right next to us, there was a group of like Japanese girls who were there they were having their own little get-together. Twice he freaked them out, scaring them all. And then I've got half the group that I'm with telling me to pop my head through the door and just go, konnichiwa, mizu, just to scare him. And then I think as we were leaving, I popped my head up and I was like, hello, and they all started screaming and laughing. And I was like, Johnny, and walked off. So
nice.
But that was a funny night.
Man, it sounds like you went to a lot of different themed restaurants. That's crazy. Resident Evil, prison.
There was another one I went to called the Capcom Bar, and that was a truly interesting experience.
That sounds like my kind of bar. I love all Capcom games.
To get into it, you had to book what times you wanted to go in, and they would say, here's a ticket, come back at this time, we've got your table ready for you. Mm-hmm. And you walk in, and it's themed according to several Capcom games that are popular at the time. So for this one, it was Devil May Cry, Ace Attorney,
Street Fighter. Where's the Street Fighter one?
Street Fighter as well. I was getting to that, bro. Don't worry.
I'm twiddling my thumbs. That's all. I'm getting excited. Go ahead.
And there was another one, but I forgot what the other one was. But in the actual place where you sat down, there's a bar and there's a small seating area if you want to get an actual proper dinner. They've got two PlayStation 3s and an Xbox lined up on the wall. And so while you wait for your food to turn up, you can play the games.
Nice.
So there's me sitting there playing Sengoku Basra, and because I've got the first one at home and they've just released the HD collection, I'm going mad and killing everything because I know what I'm doing. And so we'll sit down, the menu comes down, they're like, right, order some stuff. What do we want to get? So I've got a couple of friends who are very into Ace Attorney. So they order this thing called the Meat Gavel, and it's a foot-high peg of onion rings, and you've got like a meat hammer and some relishes on the side. And you go, holy crap, that's a lot of food.
Wow, yeah.
And then when you bring it out, the waiters and the waitresses will reenact a certain scene from the game, which everyone knows for it. Like for Ace Attorney, it's the I object, and if people know it, they know obviously how you pronounce it in Japanese. So mine came first, and I thought, he's going to do the thing. He didn't do it. And my friend Amy, who ordered the same thing as I did, hers came, and because hers came like really later than mine, I really halfway through mine, and so she got hers, and they started to do the reenactment, and they looked at me and like, right, say this phrase in Japanese. I just put a chip in my mouth and continued eating.
Nice.
She said it in Japanese. And they were like, oh, she said it in Japanese. She knows. And like my brother ordered a drink called a Hadouken. And it was like this blue whiskey-sized glass drink of, I don't know what was in it, but he said it was absolutely, it was like bubblegum is pretty much what he said, like blue-flavored bubblegum. So they brought the drink. And they were just like, Ken, Ryu, fight. And they just reenacted a fight for Street Fighter. And they were doing all the moves and everything, and it was just
really wow.
They go so passionately into reenacting certain parts of it from the game. It's hilarious.
That's on my bucket list. I need to drink the Hadouken. Seriously, I'm a big die-hard Street Fighter fan. Not as much anymore, but pre-2000s, after you couldn't get me to not play any Street Fighter game, and I would love to drink that drink.
But that's the thing. It's like that bar, that restaurant was absolutely amazing. And we told a few other people to go to it, and they went to it and had an absolute blast in it as well.
Wow.
And and then also another experience, which I suppose was quite weird, was when we went to see Tyro and Bunny the movie.
Yeah, what's the Japanese cinema like? Is it similar to? Is it different to anything you've heard?
It's okay. If you go to like an Odeon here or a View Cinema here, you obviously get different pricing of seats, and they charge you a fortune to go see a film here in the UK. And that's just the seat alone, getting into the film. And then you've got to buy like condiments like food, popcorn, whatever. You go to a Japanese one, Doesn't matter where you sit. The seats are so comfortable. So comfortable. You don't need to buy anything like food-wise just because there's no need for it. You sit in the cinema. The four of us were sitting there watching Tiger and Bunny. And all I could think to myself was, God, this is so comfortable. This film is awesome. This cinema is awesome. And the thing was, it's because it's an anime movie. If you got one of those things here, you'd have to go to like a special viewing to see something like Tiger and Bunny or whatever anime-related film. And 9 out of 10 times that cinema won't be packed.
Yeah, of course.
Tiger and Bunny in Japan was so packed out. We were lucky we got a seat for the time we got in.
Yeah, you always hear about that. Even on the Anime News Network, that aired in Japan. It got a lot of cinema buzz in Japan. But in America, yeah, it's just like you said, in England, in the UK and in America, it's the smaller, niche cinemas or theatres that show it. And, you have to go out of your way to find it.
Exactly. But this one, we found the cinema, and, it was just so packed. And after you come out of the cinema, they've got like a small stand of if you want to buy Tiger and Bunny goods. And I'm looking down going, Jesus Christ, more stuff for me to buy, and I've got no space in my bloody suitcase.
Nice. That sounds awesome, man. I'm so jealous.
It was just an experience and a half. I seriously, right, if you want to seriously make the effort to go to Japan, I recommend you put the effort in because it will not be a wasted trip. You will enjoy every second being out there.
Well, this year, I've said this on the previous podcast, I'm planning to go to America for my 30th, actually, ironically. I think I will plan to go. I'm going to do more traveling as I'm getting older now, world traveling. I've already been to Amsterdam, already been to France. Now I want to go to America, Japan. So it's just about making connections, making new friends so you have a place to stay and stuff like that. And that's what I'm going to start doing and speaking to some people, even Spilios. Even you Spilios, I might start organising things. We'll see. We're all just starting out. The podcast it's not new, but we're all getting to know each other and we're all meeting up at the spill party. And yeah, it's definitely something that I'm definitely going to keep in mind.
I mean, obviously, if you want to talk about like money and how much the thing costs to get out there, I can talk about that now if you want. But
well, things change all the time. You could say something now, and then we can check, and then it could be cheaper or more expensive.
Yeah.
So there's no point of talking about prices. But since you brought up pricing, let me wrap up the last of my questions, and then I'll ask you if there's anything else you want to add on top. But how much money did you actually bring to you? Or you also said you were going to recommend a certain amount. But tell us how much you bought and the currency exchange.
Okay. At the time, I swapped my money over to yen. The exchange rate was 174 yen to the pound. So I initially took with me about 550 quid's worth, maybe 600. My brother took close to about 700. That's not enough. That is seriously not enough if you're out in Japan. If you are like me, an anime fan, and you like to buy figurines, art books, DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever, you will realize that you can't use cards out there as much as you think. It's not to say that Japan doesn't have the ability to take card payments. Majority of their stuff that you buy will be done through cash. And also, when you get the currency of yen, you forget how much you're actually spending when you're out there. But the denominations of currency goes, notes-wise, it goes 1,000 yen notes, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I think there's a 20,000 yen note, but I never had that. But it goes up to that in that side denomination. Then afterwards, it goes into coins of 500, 50 tens, 100s, and there's even like a 1 yen coin, which is pretty much pointless to have.
That's great advice, by the way. Thank you for that.
And the thing is, though, is that when you're out there, you completely forget. I bought, I don't think I covered it earlier. When I went to Hakajuku and I bought the full metal panic figurine, this is one of the figurines that's introduced in the manga later on, and it's called the Leviathan. I might have pronounced that wrong, but it's the new arm slave that Sosuke ends up piloting, and this figurine that I bought had every form of armament it had available to buy, or that was ever introduced into the anime. It even had the flight pack that it uses in the manga, and that I bought brand new. That was probably the only thing I actually brought from Japan that was actually brand new, and it was so worth it. I think I paid 5,500 yen to 7,000 yen between that price gap. Now, if you wanted to break down how much I spent in equivalent, I nearly spent between 50 to 70 quid on that thing. And it was the biggest thing I had by far. And you can imagine trying to get that into a suitcase and you're going, oh crap, I bought more.
So what are you saying? If you're an anime fan, you should think about taking like £1,000, $1,000?
I mean, £1,000 to £2,000. £2,000 being the absolute maximum you need to take.
Right.
£1,000 is comfortable. So you've got what you need, and if there's anything extra you want to buy that you know you won't get in the UK, you've got money to get it.
Do you have to take into consideration, though, how much you can take back on your actual flight?
Yeah.
Regarding luggage and stuff like that, though?
That's the thing. The company we flew through was Korean Air. I think it's the only one that allows you to get to Japan and back through from the UK. They have a standard weight limit of 23 kgs. You can pay extra to max up to 32, but that only equivalates to one bag. So that's a mistake that I made. So we thought it was overall weight of 32. So we thought, okay, we've got an overweight of 32 kg. It means I can get, say, another suitcase and it should be okay. What I found out was that doesn't actually count. It only counts the 32 kg weight limit only counts towards one bag.
Yeah.
So obviously me buying another suitcase was absolutely mandatory.
Right, so you just needed to buy one bigger suitcase, not an additional suitcase, is what you're saying.
You need to bring one massive suitcase.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking, it's got to be at least, I don't know, 4 foot in height, 2 foot wide or something.
And basically, when you go back, wear everything. Don't leave anything in the suitcase.
Actually, no. Actually, in regards to clothing, what I recommend is, this is what a few people and I discussed over there. If you're going to go out there, bring one pair of jeans, just because you obviously, if you're going out at night, you want to wear something smart-ish.
Yeah.
Bring about 2 to 3 pairs of combats, three-quarter length combats or shorts, because at that time of year it is freakishly hot. You do not want to be wearing jeans or full-length clothing in that weather. T-shirts, go down to a Primark and buy a £2 T-shirts and buy like a ton of them and just get rid of them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you want some T-shirts to make you look, just for evening wear, whatever, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4, depending on how long you're staying there, and then just rotate them or whatever as you see fit. But the amount of sweating you're going to do out there, your T-shirts will get drenched. So I recommend you buy the Primark T-shirts, like the cheap design ones.
No, yeah, Primark's dirt cheap. Just to buy throwaway under white plain shirts and only bring a couple of dress shirts and leave it at that.
Dress shirt, you could just wear a standard T-shirt and you'd be okay. Even I bought a couple of hoodies with me as well, just because sometimes at night it's okay to have one. 9 out of 10 times you won't need to wear it. I've got a couple of sleeveless hoodies as well, but they were fine. But yeah, it's all in all, if you're going to be going out there to buy stuff and you've got no space for clothing, seriously buy the throwaway T-shirts, because they will just not be needed in the end. And it's like £2 a shirt. You're not really losing any money on it.
Right, that's cool. Now, at this point, I would say you've kind of infused a lot of your comments are infused with a lot of the answers I was hoping to get from you anyway. I've only got a couple more questions to ask you anyway.
Cool, let's go for it.
All right. So you had a great trip. And actually, you focus a lot on your first week, which was the manga anime week, and the second week, which was your relaxation week, as you put it, right?
Yeah.
I might as well ask you about a lot of the stuff you did on your second week as well now, since you've asked a lot of the things on the first week, and then I'll ask my questions. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
No, that's cool. Go ahead.
Right, so how was your second week?
All right, my second week was relaxed. That's the best way to put it. What did we do? We first had to leave the hotel into Shinjuku and go down to Kyoto, which is, if some people know or don't know, Kyoto is the official capital of Japan. Tokyo is the international capital of Japan.
Okay.
So we got to Kyoto about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So when we got there, we went by a bullet train, and that was an experience riding on the bullet train, because we went from Tokyo down to Kyoto in less than 2 hours. And that was fast. And when you sit in the bullet train, I actually didn't know you could do this, but a lot of people don't actually mention this about the seats. You know how most trains you've got the seats and you just they're all positioned as one seat in front of another, and and all you see is the back of the seat in front of you. Mm-hmm. On the bullet train, you can swivel it around so you can face the person behind you.
Is there enough space to do that?
Yeah, there is enough space to do it. You can turn the seat around and actually face them. Even
if you're sitting next to the window?
Yeah, if you're sitting next to the window, you can turn it around.
That's weird.
But the train it's all next to the window. It's literally 2 seats via 2 seats, or 3 seats to 2. So the 2-seat ones can spin. So where we were sitting is the 2-seat one, so you can turn it around. If it's a 3-seat one, not so much.
Do you think that would make people feel uncomfortable, that maybe they don't want to see your face?
Well, probably not mine, but just because after about an hour and a half, I just passed out, and I was like, okay, done. Train's made me sleepy. I'm out like a light. But no, if you're traveling in a group of people and obviously you want to sit down and talk, you can turn the chairs around and talk to the person about certain things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know we could do it, but it was you could, and it took me and the guys we were with and my brother by surprise. We're like, we can do that. That's really awesome. We're not going to do it though, but let's just say we could do it.
It's cool, especially if you're sitting next to people you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only thing with that is people you don't know. You all of a sudden a stranger turns around and hello.
Yeah. Turn around, just look random talking to a Japanese person on the train, and I'm like, konnichiwa.
Yeah, so you took the bullet train, and then go ahead.
When we hit Kyoto, we obviously got the cab to the hotel, but we couldn't check until 4:00. So it was the same. Like the hotel we stayed in Japan is sort of like the Holiday Express, Holiday Inn, those type of hotels, and they're really good. But for some reason, this one you couldn't check into the hotel till 4:00. So we were there for about an hour and a bit. So we thought, let's walk around. So we asked if we could leave our hand luggage there, just because we didn't want to have to walk around with this heavy stuff on our shoulders. So we went around for a walk. We went to what was essentially like a shopping mall. For a little while, we walked around, checked out a few things, until we felt the need to go back, and we stopped at a few shops. And it was like Kyoto is a very nice place, very very nice place.
Visually, the landscape.
Yeah, visually in the landscape, it's absolutely breathtaking. It just seems so open, even though you're in sort of like a city, but everything is within walking distance. That's the really bizarre thing. You can get anywhere within walking distance. The hotel we stayed at, round the corner from it, was the manga museum.
Ah, yes, the manga museum. That's what Job was bringing up, yeah.
So, I mean, the day that we initially went down to visit the manga museum, we went on the day it was closed, which we didn't know. So we were like, oh, all right, then we've missed it. But it's okay, we can come back another time to see it. But it was only like a 15-minute walk, and it was easy to get to. So you come out of the hotel, walk down the end of the road, take a right down the end of that road, you're there. That's how easy it was to get to. So we're like, done, But yeah, just a little bit further down the road from the hotel, there was like another Broadway, but inside of it was just like rows and rows of shops, endless sites of shops. That was amazing. So I think we were there that day in Kyoto, so we thought, okay, we're there, rest up, enjoy the fact it's a free day. The second day we were there, we went on a all-day shrine tour. This is divided into two segments. You've got the morning tour and the afternoon tour. We were booked in for all day, so we were doing the morning and the afternoon. The downside, however, was because of how we ended the first week, our luggage wasn't going to arrive till the end of the day of the shrine tour. So we had no sort of like fresh clothes to wear. So we were just wearing clothes from the day before, which wasn't too bad because it wasn't, we went over. It wasn't that hot and everything, so it was okay. However, the day we went for the shrine tour, it happened to be the hottest day in Japan. So there's me walking around in a black Nightwing t-shirt, full jeans, black trainers, and I'm sweating like a pig.
You're attracting the sun.
I attracted the sun, so I thought, okay, this is just ridiculous. And it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's this friggin' hot. So we did the tour of the shrine. So we went around pretty much Kyoto. I think we went to 5 of them, and I think 3 of them were Shinto and 2 were Buddhist, or it might be another way around. But that tour was amazing because you got on the coach, did the tour, and you learned some really interesting stuff. It's like one of the shrines we went to was under restoration. You weren't allowed to take photos, but if you were doing the tour of the outside, you were allowed to take photos. But once you got inside, they literally said no photography whatsoever. And the reason being was all the interior decorating and the artwork and everything was the original stuff. It was like you were not allowed to shine flash photography because it apparently would wear and tear on the inside of the decorations and everything.
Right.
So you had to visually see it and memorize it in your head. It was amazing when you got to see the stuff. You just thought to yourself, this is where samurais used to live. This is where like shoguns used to live. This is where warriors used to live. This is where the dude had a concubine waiting, and that's where the other stuff. And you learnt so much like experiencing this, and it was truly amazing watching it. And you just thought to yourself, man, I wouldn't mind living in a place like this. Heat in the place would be a problem, but it's awesome.
Wow.
And then we went to it. Like we went to a couple of other shrines after that. One we went to was a shrine which was dedicated to one of the 4 guardians / gods of Japan. So you might have heard it's in animes and mangas and stuff. But you've got the 4 gods. You've got Suzuki, who's the phoenix, Genbu, which I believe is a tiger. What's the other 2? Then there's a turtle and there's another. I forgot what the other 2 were. But this shrine we went to was there's a dragon. Sorry, Senyu, which is the dragon. But there's 4 shrines dedicated to the gods of Japan, and one we went to was for Suzuki the Phoenix.
Right. Okay.
And like there is one of the buildings, or one of the buildings in the shrine area has a literally a 24 karat gold Suzuki statue on top of it. And while we were there, that one was the one that we saw was a replica, but the original one was actually getting cleaned up and restored properly, like looked after and everything. So they were it was going to be back within a couple of days. But that shrine we went to was packed with people. You had school kids there, tourists there, anybody else, locals come in there. It was just busy.
Yeah.
But like the view of like how they look after the shrines is amazing. It's like literally you look at it and you see like landscape. You've heard obviously the terms here in the UK, landscape gardens, where you've got people who've designed their gardens to a certain theme and everything.
Yeah.
But you go to Japan, that's just natural. That's just a natural garden for them, and it's epically beautiful. The water was so clear blue. The koi fish is about 2 feet in length. The koi fish are like beasts out there. I've never seen fish this big ever.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen it in anime, but seeing it in real life must be totally different.
Yeah, and there's a funny story actually regarding koi fish in Japan. Actually, now they said this. I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently there's a thing in Japan where if you can find a koi fish, an all-white koi fish with a red dot in the center of its forehead, apparently the Japanese government will pay you to the amount of $1 million or pounds. I can't remember. It might have been dollars. $1 million for that fish. And the thing is, though, there's never been a fish quite close to it, but there's never been a fish exactly like that, I should say, but there's been fish very close to it. So you've seen some fish with that all white with a red dot in a certain place, but it's not what they're after. But that's the thing. That's a rumor, or I'm not sure, or unless it's true, unless somebody on Spill can confirm it.
Is there some kind of spiritual meaning to that, or
it's because a white koi fish it's the flag of Japan, isn't it? Like it's the all white background with the red sun in the middle. So the koi fish is all white with a red dot on its forehead.
I had no idea. You see, that's how my ignorance is. I had no idea. That's the way it originated from. That's great. Thank you for clarifying that. Actually,
that's all right, man. But yeah, it was like when you got to feed the koi fish, they were like it's like they've never been fed before. And you look at how big they are. You look down and go, "This is a giant bit of fish." You'd probably be satisfied eating it if you ever caught one, but
yeah,
it was huge, and they just gobbled up the bread that you gave them like they'd never eaten before.
Did you see any other weird animals?
That would be on the island I went to stay at later on in that week. So after the tour, we did like the tour, the shrine, the tour shrine. I think we ended up at one of the shrines where this shrine is famously known in animes. It was the last one on the stop before we ended up going back to the hotels. In many animes, you might have seen this shrine where they go down to Kyoto, and it's got this giant platform, and it overlooks most of Kyoto. But there's also ones where if you jump off it and survive, you get a wish granted to you.
Okay.
This was back in the day, like Japan, like old school, like Meiji era thing where they used to do that. Like if you jumped off this platform and survived,
right,
you would have like great fortune and wish and benevolence. Everything would be bestowed on you. You would have like the luck of the gods, as they would claim to say it. And like when you went to this thing, it was I don't know if you remember the TV show Mabarahu, the anime series about the descent of like the most powerful magicians in that verse.
Oh yes, how can I forget? I remember that. Yeah.
One of the episodes, they went down to Kyoto as a trip, wasn't it? And like, one of the shrines they showed was this shrine with this giant like balcony overseeing Kyoto.
Oh, very vague. It's vague in my mind, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
That shrine is where I went to in real life, and I was just like, I'm on this shrine. This is legit. I'm actually here, and that was amazing. Like the view of Kyoto was just so friggin' mind blowing, and just being there was awesome. It just felt so majestic and holy.
I hope you got like a Flickr slideshow of all your pictures and stuff, man. Because
the thing is, my camera that day died out of battery, but my brother's camera's got most of the photos from when we were in Kyoto for that part of the tour. But as soon as I get that uploaded, that is yours to view to your heart's content.
Hey, well, you've got a week from the recording of this podcast, so you've got plenty of time. But I want to see some of that. I want to see some. You know what? I want to see it with my own two eyes, though. I got to say. Hearing it from you is making me want to see it.
I do recommend though that doing this. I mean, you do a shrine tour partially when you're there. When I was there the first week, but when you do the full shrine tour and you get to see all 5 shrines that they do for you, or 6 shrines, it's truly breathtaking. Because you just are amazed at what you see. And at that Kyoto shrine that I went to, the last one, there is a fountain at the bottom, and there were a lot of people queuing to get to this fountain, and each fountain represents something that's supposed to be beneficial to you, like wealth, romance, love, family, fortune. Like, they represent one of these things. And if you drink from the fountain, depending which one you go for, it's supposed to bestow you fortune or whatever for the rest of your lifetime.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want to go for it. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to take a photo with me doing it. And I got down to the queue, and that thing did a zigzag like the old school snake game. It was just so long, the queue. There was no end to it.
Wow.
And I really wanted to do it, but the thing was that I thought I could get in the queue and wait, but how long do I have? How much time do I have before I have to get back to the coach before we head back to the hotel?
Exactly.
So I had to weigh up my options, and I thought, no, there's no point. I'll just go down, grab some souvenirs while I'm here, and then we'll head back. And the funny thing was, though, I don't know if anybody's heard this, but a lot of people might not know this actually, but Japan has 1,000 different flavors of Kit Kat.
I think that does ring a bell, but I don't. That's regardless, that's insane. That's insane.
I thought to myself, I've heard this story as well, so I'm going to see if I can find at least 5 different flavors. So as I was walking around, I found about 4, and I was still quite impressed. And they were coming in these really big boxes of Kit Kat boxes, and they were all really nice. It's like there was cinnamon, green tea. I think there was a strawberry one, which I didn't pick up though, just because I think they ran out when I went to get it. But there was like loads, and I thought I'm gonna get me some cinnamon ones, bring that back home, share the wealth with a couple of people from work and a few friends who've asked me for it. And I got to try a couple, and they were nice. I'd never actually tasted cinnamon Kit Kat before, and that was delicious.
Nice. Yeah, you sound like you were relaxing that last week. Trying food.
It was a godsend that last week, that second week of there, because of how busy you were the first week there, you really didn't get much time to yourself to relax. You pretty much were, as soon as you got out of the hotel at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, you were back in the hotel by about midnight.
Did you get to visit any of those famed hot springs?
No, because where we went didn't actually have any on the tour.
Right.
But there was a hot spring that we went to on an island that we stayed at, which I suppose I should lead into now. Part of the tour was we got to go to Hiroshima, and then from Hiroshima we got to go to a place called Miyajima. It's an island not that unsimilar to Jurassic Park.
In what sense?
That's the only way I can explain it. And I'll get to that in a second, why a reference to Jurassic Park. The day we went down, we had a reservation that night for Miyajima, so we thought we'd go down, and we were passing through Hiroshima. So one of the guys I was with, who was with us on the second part of the tour, said, do you mind if we stop off at the atomic bomb museum and site? So we thought, yeah, okay, why not? We went down there, and as you get off the tram from Hiroshima Station, you see the building that was first impacted by the nuclear bomb that hit Hiroshima. Now, a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't actually know this myself, but until you actually go there, there's a full history explained. The nuclear bomb that hit Hiroshima didn't actually directly hit Hiroshima. So it's not like I walked into a place that was still radioactive and came back fine. What happened was the bomb detonated 600 meters above Hiroshima and then fireballed down onto the city, engulfing everything in flame. That's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I didn't even know that. So and when you see this building that was the first point of impact that got decimated by flame, you just go, holy crap. If the building barely just survived, how did half the citizens in this place even survive the initial impact?
Oh my God, yeah. Joe brought this up as well, He said it's a must place to go, and he was talking about, as an American, how he felt about seeing that and the effect that the atomic bomb had on the Japanese as well.
I mean, we went to the museum, and that was an experience, because I don't know how we managed to do this, but we ended up going to the museum on the same day all the schools in Kyoto were doing their tour. So
wow. You've
got like 9-10 buses rammed full of school kids doing this tour, and there's us going, all right, the four foreigners want to go check out the museum. Sure, why not? We'll go with the school kids as well.
Yeah,
and it was fun. Like, I think we paid like 100 yen to get in, so that's £1. So we got in. I might have exaggerated the price or underestimated the price, but it was ridiculously cheap for us to get in to do this tour, and it was so eye-opening. I know a lot of people are like, well, obviously the place got hit by a nuclear bomb, but until you actually walk into that museum and see what happened in Hiroshima back in World War II, you don't even know half of it. I mean, you can read everything in the history book, but until you actually go down to see it, it is a completely different experience. You had like clothing's donated from the family of survivors of the people hit by the radiation. School uniforms, like housings, and like brick from a house that got hit by the bomb and everything. And there was one that was actually out on display, and I went to touch it, and it was just the most weirdest feeling in the world. And I don't mean to say it in a bad way, but it felt like someone had put, like when you caramelize sugar, it's that weird like brown look, but it's still, you can tell it's got that weird bumpy feel to it. That's what one of the tiles of a roof was like. It felt like that. And just being
that's eerie.
Yeah, very eerie. But at the same time, you walk around and it's like all this knowledge is being imparted onto you, and you feel like you have to do something, but you don't know what.
When you're saying this, I could just remember how, passionate and emotional Joe was getting as well. And I've said this on the podcast many times. I've become more interested in world history, and when I had a better understanding of what happened in 1940s and World War II in Japan, and the whole testing thing, and when you watch animes like Grave of the Fireflies or Barefoot Gen, I couldn't even imagine when you actually get to physically see the real life leftovers of that incident. I don't know, man. That's it. I feel like it's obviously something I have to see.
Yeah.
I absolutely have to see, but at the same time, I can just tell it's going to be, emotional.
Yes, definitely. And one of the things, actually, when you initially walk into the museum, there is 2 columns where there are letters, probably no bigger than a page of a notepad, where the mayor at the time of Hiroshima has written to the president of the US, begging them to not continue with nuclear testing. And I think it spanned from like 1950, maybe just on that. Every year there's a letter that's been written to the president of the US, and the latest one I think was 2010, maybe 2011 was the last one on there. And when you read
Jesus
through it,
Christ,
yeah,
that's intense.
Yeah, and when you read it, it's like some are addressed to the president of the US, and then some are addressed obviously to the UN. But this is making sound a little bit too serious. But they seriously begged them to stop with nuclear testing, and understandably so. I mean, any country that's been at the other end of a nuclear bomb obviously is going to be the very, very, very adamant about anti-nuclear stuff.
Well, to my knowledge, it's only Japan.
Yeah, exactly. And like after we went the initial tour of the museum, it was an interesting experience. So we ended up finishing our tour, and we thought, we've got a bit of a while before we head down to Miyajima. So we thought, let's relax. So as you walk past, there's a small river that separates between like the main road and the site where the museum is. So we crossed over the bridge, and we ended up sitting down in this nice sort of Italian cafe in Japan. And we sat down and thought, well, let's have something to eat. It's a nice day. Enjoy the weather. We just sat there and talked with everyone about what we'd experienced. And it was surreal. It was so relaxing just getting to sit down and enjoy yourselves.
Yeah. And
then after we got the tram back to Hiroshima Station before we got the train down to Miyajima. And the thing with Miyajima is, because this is like an island resort, once you get off the train, you walk about 100 meters down the road, and there's a ferry that takes you over to the island. And then once you get on the ferry, it's about a 10-minute boat ride, and you'd hit the island.
That's cool.
The thing was, though, is like this is the funny thing, they give you a warning on, guys. Here's a bit of a warning for you. When you get to Miyajima, please be wary and keep your items with you. There are wild deer roaming the island, and they have a tendency to eat things if they're not properly secured and everything. Mm-hmm. So as soon as we got off the boat and we got onto sort of like the main island part of the entrance of the island, there was a deer right there in front of us. So we thought, okay, let's go say hello, stroked it. And when they say wild deer roam the island, it's not like maybe like 10 or at most. There's like 20, 30, 40 of these like deer just roaming. And they walk into shops randomly. They occasionally sit down, have a break. They'll still like walk over to people who are just like tourists and get patted on the head and everything. And it was just hilarious. And that's why I say it was like Jurassic Park. Because you walk around, it's like you see dinosaurs everywhere.
But they don't seem they're not violent, obviously.
They're not violent in the slightest. They understand that I think they know that it's a human. Humans are there, and but sometimes they're like they know there's that like line, like humans are there, and obviously if they do something, humans are going to be a bit like, don't eat my bag or don't eat my rail pass or whatever. So, but yeah, like we got on the island and you walk around, and the island was absolutely amazing, so beautiful. Even just when you get the boat ride over, you're amazed at how green it is. It's all like very hilly. Like there's like a massive like ridge top and everything. And there's like shrines on top of that as well, but I'll go into that a little bit later on. Like we got there and we were walking the island, like, from the port to the hotel. It's not that far a walk, but obviously it's a hot day, so you're a little bit, oh my god, it's a bit warm. I'm going to struggle getting up this hill at this time of day. And we got to the hotel and, oh sorry, not even a hotel, to the inn I should say. And it was amazing walking in. Because as soon as we got there, they've got a little signboard at the front, like who the guests are. And they can't pronounce my brother's first name or mine, so they just left our surname as Rahman. And we got there, and it's written in English, and we were like, "That's us! Take a photo quick!" We signed into the rooms and everything, and then they asked you, obviously, your dietary, like, what are you comfortable with? Are you okay eating Japanese foods, or would you prefer a Western meal for your dinner? And we thought, since we're in Japan, we'll go for the authentic stuff. And then they showed us to our rooms. So now, when you get to the room, it is proper tatami mats, futons, everything in there. It is quite literally, if you walked into what you see in an anime show when they go to those hotel like resorts in the anime, exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing.
Good, you had that good traditional experience. That's great.
Had the proper traditional experience. The lady was showing us around, was like trying to tell us everything in English. But then she found out that because my brother could understand Japanese, and I said, without really, I was just nodding like an idiot. And she's like, do you understand Japanese? And I forgot to mention, I can understand a little bit, but I can understand. She just proceeded to wail off in Japanese. And I'm sitting there going, I'm understanding maybe every third word in the sentence, or maybe more. And then after I understood, and I was like, oh, okay, she's explained to us the times to go down to the bath. There was an indoor onsen, or hot spring, I should say, in the inn. Had to get an elevator down to the basement to get it, and it was a sort of like a natural one there. And they said between certain times you're allowed to go from this part, and then after midnight it was open for anyone and everyone. And then they even showed us like how to put on a traditional yukata, which that was fun, putting that on. So I'm putting it on, I'm like, haha, I'm looking quite dapper in this. So we thought we've got, we showered up and everything. We went down to have dinner, and everyone was dressed in yukatas. And like the meal that they served you for dinner was amazing. And I know a lot of people get a bit weary, so obviously it's fried. It's like it's raw fish and it's squid and everything's a little bit raw and not properly cooked. But I guarantee you, you go there and you will want to try at least everything that they give you.
Did you like the food?
I did. There was not one dish there that I didn't like. And I'll put this out there. I'm not a huge fan of oysters and mussels. But one of the big things that they served us was it oysters? No, it might have been mussels. Sorry, it might have been mussels. Quite big ones. And there was about two. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of these. So I thought, okay, it's, I don't want to be rude, so I'll take it with a pinch of salt. The way they cooked this up made me change my mind about eating this. And I thought to myself, if it's cooked like this from now on and I get the option of having it like this, I will eat it regularly.
And how was that prepared then?
That was steamed. It's like they've got, you sometimes get those like gas burners at camping sites and everything. You think of it as a Japanese version of it, but they've got think of like a small candle that they use. It is set to burn at a certain temperature and for a certain period of time, so he knows just how long it needs to be burnt for to cook your food. And everything there is steamed. So it was steaming the oyster, and it cooked it to perfection.
Wow.
And then it's not like obviously you see Japan, like in the animes, they give you one set dish with the rice and the soup, and that's it. No, for this, you got the oysters with the rice, with the fish, with 19 other side dishes, and you look and go, I have no idea where to start. And then you just pick your way through it, and by the end of it, you are completely full.
Nice.
And the lady that served us, she was just so sweet about everything. She obviously knew that a couple of the colleagues that we were there with didn't have a clue what they were eating, so they looked to me and my brother for verification what it was. And if there's something that we weren't sure, we'd have to ask her, and then she'd be like, "Oh, it's this, this, and this." And she spoke English, so it made it okay for them to find out what it was. And then while you're there, you can't help but try everything. You just can't help it. You'd be looking, going, "What's that? I want to try it." And you just dip it in a bit of wasabi and you're done.
Cool.
And but yeah, that night is that we went back up to the rooms, and probably one of the best things about being at the island was when we got into the hotel room. We had about an hour or maybe two before we had to go down for dinner. So there was a TV there, so we thought, let's switch on the TV. We've got nothing else to do. The view was nice. Let's see what we're on. I flicked over. What's the first thing I click onto? One Piece.
Nice.
One Piece. Wait for me as I get into the hotel room. This is awesome. And it's at the what arc was it? It was the
Fisherman arc.
That's it, the Fisherman arc, the one where they were just after the 2-year gap. It's showing that, and it's the one with what's the name of that ship? The Davy Jones ship is about to come crashing down onto the Fisherman.
Oh, the end of the Fisherman arc, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, this is perfect. Sat there watching it. Yeah, this is great. Let's see what else is on TV. 12 anime. It was just awesome. Everywhere I flicked over was anime.
Nice. Without even looking for it.
I wasn't even looking for it, but there it was, animes waiting for me. And all I could think to myself, thank God I can understand Japanese.
Boy. Right, so can we assume we're coming to the end of your journey in Japan?
Almost. Right. After the night we stayed at the hotel, we thought since we're on the island, we'd do a tour of the island. So we went to an aquarium that was there, and that was fun as walking through that aquarium. There was a dolphin there. What was it, a bottlenose dolphin or I forgot what they're called. These are ones that are like round. They don't have like a. Somebody knows the name. If I can remember the name of dolphin, I'll post it in a comment and let you know what it was. But seeing them was actually quite impressive. And then we saw like different jellyfish, all different types of marine life. We watched a penguin feeding, and that was funny. And then we saw a walrus and a sea lion, and these were huge motherfuckers. They were like this walrus was massive. You see pictures of it on like documentaries and everything, but this walrus was massive.
Yeah.
And then you know that thing even attempted to jump on you, you'd be dead in an instant. There's no way you're escaping that thing. And then we saw like these two otters that were absolutely amazing to watch, because they looked like they tried to escape. And they've got this massive playground for themselves, just where they live, and they just go. They can have so much fun. But they were at the door where obviously the keeper's coming and giving food, and they were just going mad trying to escape. And it was so funny. But that was fun experiencing that. And then we went before we left. We thought we'd do a trek. There were 2 points at Miyajima where you can go to the highest point of the island. So we thought, let's do that before we go. And we just missed the bus that took you to the rally points. It allowed you to get on a cable car up to the second highest point of the island. So we thought, it's only a 10-minute walk. It can't be that bad. That was the biggest mistake of our lives. Okay, not only are we on an island that is tropically hot, and it's like midday-ish or just like 1 o'clock-ish, we thought we'd do a 10-minute walk in the heat, uphill. And it was probably the most steepest hill I'd ever seen in my life. And I live at the top of a hill. So for me, down the hill isn't a problem. But this thing was ridiculous. So there's myself, my brother, quite fit ourselves, cardio-wise and everything. The guy we're with he's an Air Force officer, so he's quite fit himself. By the end of the 10-minute walk, we got to the cable car station. We were dripping in sweat.
Oh, it's memorable. When you got to the top, did you get to look back down and see a nice view?
That was the cable car thing. We got the cable car to the second highest point. From there, you got to see everything on the island. And that was only the second highest point.
Yeah.
So we thought, let's just stay up here. And we got to see like the island being surrounded by other islands, the vast blue ocean. It was just like, all you could see was Ocean Island till the end of the horizon. And that was it. And then you looked to the, like, if you turned around to your left, you saw like the sea and the ferry to the ports and everything. And it was quite literally such a breathtaking view. But then the downside was, because we were at the second highest point, they said there's a 100-meter walk to the highest point, going up again. And we thought, no, we're not doing it, just because we know we won't make it and we'll be dead by the time we get there. So we thought, we'll stay here, we'll relax a bit more, and we'll take the cable cart the next cable cart down. But while we were there, we thought, let's have a drink. And to my surprise, I get myself a Dragon Ball Z drink.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I got myself a Dragon Ball Z drink. So they're like different vending machines at different ones. But my brother got, what did he get? He got a Bulma one, and I got a Krillin one. And this is when they were in their Dragon Ball gear. So you got Krillin in the yellow and Bulma in the pink top saying Capsule Corp on it. Just drank that stuff, and it was just absolutely refreshing. It was like drinking, what's the best way to explain it? Like a still Fanta, like we don't do here anymore. It was just like drinking one of those. And all I could think to myself was, thank God, this is awesome. And then afterwards we made our way back to Hiroshima, and then we came back to Kyoto. And it was just like, right, we're back in Kyoto. Let's go buy the luggage. We need to buy an extra suitcase. So me and one of the guys we were with ran down to the shop, bought it, came back. That was the third to last day I think we were there, and then after that we had a couple of days of just 3 days where we could do what we wanted. So we did a bit of a walk around down Kyoto.
Just chill, just had a good relaxing time, nothing eventful. Just
The thing was, though, this is one thing I definitely have to say. Like, I didn't actually know of this until we actually went into Japan, and a few people that I was there with actually went out to look for this place. There is a fast food chain out in Japan, which I highly recommend you try. You can try all the ramen, all the like dons and sushis and curry houses that are available there. But I know when you go to a place like Japan, the last thing you want to do is try fast food. But this place I recommend you try. This brand is called Moss Burger. I don't know if anybody's heard of it or if you've heard of it.
I think Joe brought Moss Burger up, yeah.
Moss Burger is an absolutely fantastic place to go. I was a little bit like, oh, it's a burger joint. I don't want to go to Japan to eat burgers. I can do that anytime in the UK. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we went, just because we went to it and, you know, it helped. They speak English, which is good. And they've got an English version, the English menu. But because I was there, my brother and I thought we'd translate into Japanese. Like, oh, we want this, we want this, we want this. And they were like, okay, it's fine. Take a seat. We'll get it for you. Now, we ordered this thing called the spicy Moss Burger. And it's like, like the standard burger. You've got the flame grilled meat. You've got the tomato, which is about an inch thick and sliced. Lettuce, onions. And you've got the bun. And then they just throw what can only be described as a spicy chili con carne in there. Minus the beans. Ooh. So you've got it, and the thing is, you don't get it like how they do it here. They wrap it in the grease bag. No, they give you a grease bag that's already open, so you can hold on to it and bite into it without getting your hands dirty. And you're like, that's smart.
Nice.
Bite into it, and you've tasted everything. But because it's so overloaded, the chili shoots out into the bag, where it's all stored and everything. So you're there, like, got through the burger. You've got now a grease bag full of chili.
Yeah.
Thank God I've got a bowl of chips. Dip it in, eat it away.
Nice. Ugh. You're making me hungry, Hab. You're making me hungry, man.
I'm making myself hungry just thinking about it. I'm going to go back and get another one. I need to bring a Moss Burger to the UK.
Damn, man.
It was absolutely amazing there. And like, Japanese food-wise, I love ramen. We found a great ramen place. Paid 800 yen for a dirty big bowl, and it almost killed me eating it. Found a curry house, and they gave you, like, you can customize your own Japanese curry, and that itself was amazing. Watching it, and the thing is, you can get a standard size, but you can also pay a couple extra 100 yen to get a bigger size. Because obviously Japanese people don't eat a lot, whereas it's like us, we tend to get bigger. Yeah. So we were like, can we get it double size with this, and this? And they're like, yeah, it's done. And you just come out and you've got your own custom made curry.
Oh man, Hab, foods, you need to stop. You really do need to stop. You're making me want to, try to make up for what you're telling me right now. Seriously. Like
when you go out to Japan, you just want to try everything. And
yeah,
it is. There is not one thing out there where you eat and go, I didn't like that. You would go out there and be like, I liked everything.
I'm really funny when it comes to eating. But obviously, I'm very open. If I spend all that money to go to Japan, I'm definitely going to try to broaden my horizon with all these new foods you're telling me about.
Yeah, I mean, try everything at least once, so at least you know you've tasted it, and then for future reference, if it's not your thing, you can always go back to it.
Of course.
Yeah, so... but what else is there? I mean, after the initial trip in Kyoto, is that I found this purely by accident, but we found this. I found another anime shop there while I was there, and oh dear, I didn't have to worry. I didn't spend too much just because I was thinking as well, I've got no room, but I can buy at least a couple of things while I'm here. So
you really like punishing yourself, don't you, Hab? But I don't blame you, man. You're out there, you got to grab it. You got to do the Pokemon thing.
Yeah, well,
got to catch
them all, and then hire a Hercules plane to bring all my stuff back. But yeah. But there's an anime, I don't know if anybody watched this when it came out. It was an anime called Star Driver, and it's very rare to find any of the figurines out here in Japan as well, let alone in the UK. Now, while I was out there, I found the main mecha figurine in Japan for like cheap, so I bought it and I was quite happy with it. But then I found a figurine of the main character, which is even harder to find. So if those on like Planet Tyro know what I'm talking about, you know what the show is about, and you know what I'm talking about, the main character. Like, just finding anything related to that show was hard.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. I've heard of X Driver, but I haven't heard of Star Driver.
Star Driver is one of them shows where it is so ridiculously over the top, but you have fun watching it.
Okay.
You feel like funny watching it, just because the first episode alone had me in stitches.
Well, Rahab, I'm sorry to do this to you, man, but I got to ask you to wrap this up, man, because I got to still ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, no worries, man. I mean, I'll leave it at that pretty much. But yeah, it's like Kyoto. If you do the second week out there in Japan, you definitely need to have that second week just to relax. Otherwise, you'll be burnt out after the first week.
I like the way you did it. I can't lie, because, I like your approach. You came out the first week guns are blazing, doing all your anime stuff and letting all the energy out on what you love. And then on the second week, you took the time out to enjoy the landscape. You went to an island, you saw a lot of animals, you had good food. That sounds like a fucking good game plan to me.
And the thing is that this is all included in a package tour. So it was already done for me. All I had to do was just turn up.
I might be copying you, mate.
I'd say go for it.
Seriously, I might be taking you up on this whole for my Japanese, so I might actually just be doing exactly what you did. It sounds like a winner. I wouldn't really change much. Not that much of a gamer anymore, to be honest with you. More of the anime and manga guy and landscape. But to be honest with you, sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to go, when you do go, let's just say this, the tour itself is done by a company called Japan Journeys, and they've got tours set at different times of the year. I only chose the one for the Tokyo Game Show just because it was conveniently around about the same time as my birthday, so I thought that's 2 for 1 for me.
Well, your birthday and my birthday around the same time. You're September, I'm October.
So yeah, if it was you, then do the TGS. I mean, you get to go to the Tokyo Game Show, and that itself was fun, going to that. I mean, you get to go on the day that's first open to the public, and then you get a chance to go on the second day if you really need to. But I guarantee you, the first day you go, that will be enough. And I mean, while I was there, it's like the people I went with, we got lost. We just got in that room and into that exhibition hall. It's like my brother disappeared, and I had one guy hanging on to me. And he just went, "Don't leave me." We just walked around together. I took photos of cosplayers, a game stand. I met some of the IGN staff out there, and it was.
Yeah, you need to do me a favor, though. Honestly, I need you, if you can. I know if you have the time, just please, if you can make a Flickr account with some of your best pictures, don't go out of your way. Just do the best you can.
Yeah, I'll do it this way. I'll link it to, hopefully, I might be able to do it. So the photos that I initially took with my camera are on my Facebook account, so I will link my Facebook account to it if I can.
That's all you need to do. If you've got enough pictures on there, just send me the link. I'll put it in the notes so people can see. Because, I like to give people the visual aid as well as, hearing us on the podcast. But anyway, like I said, I got to wrap the podcast up.
Yeah, no worries, man.
You got to give people wanting more anyway. Because, when people do decide to go, they might be asking you and Joe for questions and advice and stuff. Yeah. But let me just ask you a couple last questions.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
In general, do you think there's any misconceptions now that you've actually been to Japan that, people have about Japan that you might want to straighten up?
That purely depends on what they themselves, people have has misconceptions. Now, I myself I never went out there with any misconceptions. I mean, there are certain things where I was corrected on just because stereotypes and so forth, but there's no misconceptions. That's the thing. Like when I was there, I felt there was nothing like that.
As a tourist, what should you not do? You want to give some advice to people, maybe some things you might want to advise people that are going to Japan for the first time. Would you got any, apart from the learning Jap, which you already had down, is there anything in particular you would want to give people as advice for first time people going to Japan?
If you did what I did and went in September when it was freakishly hot, I recommend everywhere you go, you buy a drink you bring a drink with you and a towel, because you would just sweat that much. Also, mainly just due to the traveling of when you're going there and getting there, if you are looking to buy stuff and come back, make sure that you've got a suitcase big enough to do it.
One suitcase
big enough, or if you've got hand luggage which you can get away with and class as hand luggage, do that. But there are things out there, you will go mad buying stuff out there. It's just the way things are. You will just be so captivated just because of the fans that we are. We're anime fans, we're gaming fans, all of that. There is no way you'll go out there and not buy anything.
Well, this is going to bring me to my very last question, Hab. What would you do differently if you went next time or on your next trip?
What would I do differently? Pack less clothing, take more money with me, make sure I had a bigger suitcase. Probably make sure my Japanese was even more up to par than it was now. So, I mean, I was surprised I did as well as I did with the Japanese that I knew. But when I do go back, I'm going to make sure it'd be easier and a lot more better. And my God, I'm going to chow more Japanese women. That's just a given.
Come on, you have to, man. I wanted to hear some more. I want to hear some raunchy stories, but I'll ask you off the podcast about it anyway. Yeah. And just out of interest, was there anything you particularly didn't like about Japan? Because you've been very positive, and I'm not trying to bring it down, but
that's the thing. While I was out there was nothing negative I had to say about it. Granted, I have to admit, they're like traveling to certain places to certain places. Oh, that's one thing I should make into a note. If you are traveling in Japan and you're taking the railways, what do you hear about the subways? The subway thing is legit. Like when they cram people onto a subway, that is legit.
Oh yes, thank you. Because you see that in anime, oh, that's just cartoons, that's just anime. People don't get squashed against the flipping window like that.
That's on the subway. What I travelled on was the Japanese railway, which is different. That's more open. What you see in anime is what people travel in the animes. That's the rail line.
Isn't that similar to saying in London the tube against the National Rail then?
Yeah, in a sense, that's what it is. Like if you would say jump on the underground in London, like coming home on the Central Line or any line on the underground at rush hour, that's an everyday occurrence any time of the day in Japan. They will force you on to the train, whether it's getting packed halfway through them pushing people on. They will force you on like a sardine. There is no getting out of there. You will be forced on no matter what you wear, no matter how busy the train is or what time of day it is. If you get the Japanese rail line, which is what I recommend a lot of people look into, because a lot of the places you would go if you do this package tour is on that rail line. It is a hell of a lot easier, and it doesn't even get packed. There's none of that. You standing up to some Japanese brother and his armpits in your face. There's none of that. They're all really courteous on the train, and you'll have enough space to stand there comfortably.
That is very good advice for me. I don't like cramped. I don't like being up in people's face. I'm a very, you've met me. I'm quite a big guy, and the last thing people want to do is get all up in my breasts.
Yeah.
So that's
on the Japanese rail lines. They are ridiculously spacious. This is like so huge. It makes the national rail here look like a toy, like a matchbox. It is that spacious. You could fit comfortably so many people on there and not worry about it.
That's cool, man. Makes me wonder though. Do all those groping things you hear about in anime is actually true? It probably is, isn't it?
It probably is, but I've never seen it. I was never on a train where a Japanese chick decided to cop a feel on me. I mean, granted, there are probably
funny guy.
I mean, there's probably a few that I wanted to, but then that's another story for another time involving Jack, who I mentioned earlier. But that was, I mean, most of the stuff that happened in Japan that were funny things, events and whatnot, happened majority to him, which we all laughed at. But one thing is I can say about the Japanese rail is that it's value for money.
Okay.
And I didn't actually know this, but the reason why the London and UK has the Oyster card is because we took it from Japan.
You know what? I'm not surprised you're saying that because we took the bendy buses from France, didn't we?
Yeah. So like the what we call the Oyster card here, Japan called it Pearl, which I didn't actually know until someone told me, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that why it's called that?" And that's the reason why.
Didn't know that myself.
Yeah, and like you can buy a week rail pass for the Japan Rail, which works on the bullet train as well, and it's worth about how much is it? 230,000 yen or something like that. And that's 230 quid to last you for the week. And you can go anytime, anywhere, unlimited.
That's cool.
And that was amazing. And
it's the same system with the swiping on the yellow space or something like that.
Yeah, you just pop it through and it pops back up. You keep the card and it's fine. It was, and the thing is, if you get lost, there's a map of the rail line on the card. And that was just amazing. It was just one of those things where just going to Japan, I mean, I've got so many more stories I could tell you on this podcast, but obviously time constraints say otherwise. But everything about that, it was just so efficient. Yeah. And then you come back to the UK, you just go, my God, I hate this place. That was the first instance. I got back from the UK. 2 days later, I was back at work on the Central Line heading off to work, and I hated everything about it. I'm sitting on a train so cramped, and it's cold and miserable, and I'm just like,
yeah,
I hate this country.
Look, man, that's why you just... I don't know what to tell you, man. I feel the exact same way. London, it's got the reputation. It's not even a stereotype for being very gloomy, very dreary with terrible weather. Yeah. Yes, and double yes, okay? London is that place.
And the thing was, like, when I came back to the UK, the minute I knew I was back in the UK is when I heard a member of the Heathrow Airport staff bitch and moan about a shift. That's when I knew I was back in the UK. I was like, I'm back in the UK.
And that's why our currency is so high. Because that makes up for our shitty life out here.
It was, but the thing is, I will say it wholeheartedly, hand on heart, swear in any Bible, Torah, whatever holy book you want me to. Japan, if you're an anime fan or just want to experience a place in general that's so different from anything else you've ever experienced, give Japan a go. You need to do 2 weeks because 1 week out there, you will just be so rushed, you don't feel like you've got to do anything. 2 weeks out there, you will have more freedom and choice. Yes, what I went on was a package tour, but the second week, it was a self-guided tour. You got to do what you want. You had to make your own way to certain places and do what you need to. But it's so worth it. So worth it.
Cool, Habib. That's a very comprehensive look at your trip to Japan, man. You know, people, I know this was quite a longer one, longer than the one with Joe, but, you know, I enjoyed just listening to what you went through. I'm not going to enjoy editing it, though. But I am going to enjoy, and I'm sure that I hope the audience enjoys listening to your journey, man. And as an anime fan, it sounds like you just went you went for it, man, and that's great, man. And I can't wait to plan my own trip to Japan in the future, man. And yeah, man, I really appreciate all the advice and you coming on the podcast. Like I said before, man, we've wanted to have you on here for such a long time. And obviously time constraints, but I will endeavour to get you on again, maybe to do an anime review, because you're much more positive about anime than I. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Like, I mean, granted, like we've discussed obviously talk of the big three and other independent ones that we've come across and watched and recommended to each other. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, I watch anime and I tend to look on the positive side of things. Unless an anime comes out and I'm just like, God damn it, I can't go through this. I would always give anime a chance until it gets to that point where I just can't do anymore. Yeah,
I mean, most people. Like, it's ironic that I'm the one with the podcast because I'm very lukewarm and weird. I'm not going to say I'm hard to please. Not some of the things I like. People are like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" I was telling someone I like anime called Angelic Layer, and that's about these little girls playing with little robotic marionettes.
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah. I've seen that. That's not that bad.
Yeah, some people think this guy, you like that kind of shit.
That's the thing.
Like, online.
The anime is so vast and so many genres. It's hard to pick and choose like people's personal favorites. It's like you will obviously go for the more mainstream stuff, but when you get stuff that's not so mainstream, people go, "Why'd you like that for?" Well, if you diversify your choice in anime, you get to a broader aspect of what there is to offer.
Well, if people haven't realised it by now, that's the one thing I try to strive for on the podcast, diversity, and that's why I like having a good range of different people on the podcast. I don't like to keep things the same. Yeah. That's why we're talking about Japan and we're not talking about anime today. Because we want to mix it up and we want to share our experiences. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could share what I experienced with everyone.
Between you and Joe, I've got a really good idea of, you know, what Japan's like. Yeah, between both of you, I really feel like I'm certain it's something I want to do now.
Definitely.
Before, I was a bit worried, and, you know, maybe there's some cultural things I've heard that made me worry as a black guy. That's more of something I have to get over, and some people might think it's petty, but to be honest with you, you would worry about, even in Europe. Let me use an example. Right now, Spill are trying to plan a trip to Croatia.
Okay.
And I was speaking to Nick Hodges and Simon about this as well, Simeon Rad on the website. Yeah. And I was telling them, you know, even Corey Coleman was saying, you know, there aren't that black people out there, and a lot of European countries don't get to see people of different races, so stuff like that. And I know it's, you know, it's just one of those things that I take into consideration when you go abroad, you know, because you're not at home anymore. But I think it's all to who you go with and where you go. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. But in finality of my little ramble, I still want to go to Japan, and I'm not going to let any of these misgivings of mine stop me ultimately.
No,
you know?
No, it shouldn't. And like the people who I went with, I mean, I've become like such good friends with them over the space of a couple of months. It's like I feel like I've known them longer than I have most people I've known like most of my life. And like you build a bond and a friendship with these people just because you are all like-minded. You all want the same things. You get on the same wavelength with everyone, and it's just nice that when you go out there, you get to meet these people and you become really good friends with them. And it's nice to know there are people out there who share the same interests as you.
Most definitely, man. And that's what Planet Tyro is about. Sharing our common likes, and that's anime and manga and Japan and the whole culture, community, everything they do. We are fans of Japan in general, you know?
Definitely.
So anyway, Habib, it was wonderful having you on. I really appreciate you taking the time out. You're a busy guy.
Thank you for having me.